And I think we're live. Hello, how's it going?
Hey everybody.
Who are you, sir?
How's it going? My name is Chad James. As you can see right down below me. I've been in online content creation for about 15 years. You might know me from the old Screw Attack days, or currently Death Battle and Rooster Teeth. I'm a huge nerd, especially when it comes to the Cosmere, which is how we met.
Yes, it
Through
is.
Emily.
Through Emily, yes. Emily, are you there somewhere?
Hello.
There she is. Yeah.
Always here. Always watching.
Hovering on the outskirts of my channel constantly. Good.
She's like your spren.
Like my little spren, exactly. If you were a little context, Emily has never actually read any Cosmere before.
She read.
You read a little bit of Mistborn. You've never read
book
Stormlight,
one, and then she didn't like it.
Without any context,
read
Emily,
a
what
short
spren would
story.
you be?
Oh, my word.
You did read Emperor's Soul. That's true.
I would be a unicorn's main spren.
Oh, so like one of the Rhyshadium spren then.
Exactly.
There you go. Perfect.
I
way to
you
tie
would
that
know
in.
what
I was
meant.
like, how are we gonna get here with that?
Perfect.
There you go, Rashadium.
Yeah, I think that works very well. Okay,
I just
fantastic.
realized I gotta tweet out your stream, so I'm gonna do that while you keep going.
Sounds fantastic.
Well, Zach in the chat mentions that we are reading Mistborn right now.
Yeah.
Zach / Syndraulic.
Zach. Oh, that's Syndrome.
Friend of the channel.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream. Good to have you here. Today we're going to be talking about Lost Metal, as it says in text above me, somewhere up there. So what is that, Chad?
The Lost Metal is the latest and final book in the Wax and Wayne Mistborn Era 2 originally trilogy, but now there's 4 books. So
it's the
quadrilogy? Sure.
Quadrilogy, yes. Cycle, I guess.
Cycle,
is
perfect.
The technical term. The funny thing about it is it was just supposed to be that one book, and it ended up being longer than any of the Mistborn eras yet, I guess I'll say. Yeah. Who knows how insane he's going to go on era 3 or 4.
We'll see.
Maybe he'll just accidentally write 8 books for those. I wouldn't complain.
Give me anything from Scadrial. I'm there. I don't know though. If it gets like too modern, that's one thing I'm a little like. I like my fantasy like swords and shields, right? Like I like that. That's like when we start to get into like industrialization and guns start getting introduced. That's like my limit. Like I can like I'll go there. Because like you see that in the first Law series, the new era that's like being done with that, and I'm like like this. It's just the story and the writing's so good, so I'm here. But like if we get too modern, it kind of turns me off a little bit. So like I don't know, man. If we keep going down, like that was like one of the whole plot. Heads up, we're gonna get like massive spoilers.
Lots
by the way,
of spoilers are coming up. I have it on the text, but just for those of you just joining us right now, we are getting into full Cosmere spoilers. Everything is on the table except for the secret projects.
Right.
Chad in particular has not read any of the preview chapters, has not seen anything from secret projects yet, so we're not gonna spoil anything for him.
Please don't. I'm excited. It's like it's Christmas. I just want to experience it every month, or however long. We're getting whatever. Well, we won't get into that.
Yeah.
But yeah. But anyway, so that's things like honestly, like because of the industrialization that's already happened and the jumps in technology that's already been happening on Scadrial and Era 2. That's one of the reasons. It's literally the whole reason for the conflict of Era 2 is because they got put on the radar of like larger forces in the Cosmere that were like like two things. One, you got somebody in control with 2 shards over there, and then also y'all are getting like up here on technology, and like that's not gonna go good for autonomy.
I think that's a perfect segue to jump into the story discussion. What's actually going on in this book in particular? Do we want to go over Era 2 in general, or just jump right into Lost Metal?
Do you want to?
I think we jump into Lost Metal.
Yeah, let's jump into Lost Metal.
As much
because
as
we're gonna have
I
so much to talk
want
about.
you to jump right in there, I'm also really curious, and I think other people will be too. How did you get into the Cosmere specifically?
Oh, sure.
Fair. You want to go first?
Yeah,
you want me to go
yeah,
first?
sure. Happy to do it. I was reading The Wheel of Time, which is a very classic fantasy series. It's one of those ones that is just like, if you're into fantasy, you have to read it, right? It's written by Robert Jordan. Unfortunately, Robert Jordan died before he could complete the series. And there was like a whole big like, who's gonna finish The Wheel of Time? That it was already at this point just a epic pinnacle, like won awards, amazing tale. Like, who's gonna get brought in to do this? And Robert Jordan's wife brought in Brandon Sanderson, who at the time, like, what did he have out? Like, not a ton.
I think it was
like
literally
he had like
just Elantris.
just Elantris,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Sanderson was a huge fan of Jordan, and then she reached out, and I guess she liked Elantris so well, and like whatever test writing he did, that she was like, "Okay, you're the guy. Finish The Wheel of Time."
Dude, can you imagine getting that call though? Like, you've grown up reading these books. If Sanderson gave you a call one day and was like, "Hey, I just need you personally to do every single one of the next few audiobooks or whatever. Finish off the Cosmere for me." Like, no, that's insane.
Yeah, it'd be so hard too, because especially like the audiobooks are done so well. They're narrated by Michael Kramer and Kate Reading, and like they do such an amazing job. Like, I can't even imagine like stepping into those shoes to narrate.
Into their shoes just for narration alone, much less this huge series. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And so in the author's note in the first book that Sanderson took over, which I think was he like finished the half of the last third, and then like he finished the last two, I think.
So that sounds right.
But in the first one that he wrote on, he basically had an author's note that was just like, "Hey, obviously this is like a tremendous honor, and like blah blah blah. This is how this came about. I'm not even getting to attempt to mimic Jordan's style." He's like, "Because you won't get Jordan. I'm not Jordan." And out of respect to him, he's like, "I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to finish the story using all of his notes and working with his family, but I'm going to write it in my style so that you don't get like a cheap imitation, or whatever." And it was like, I was like, this guy seems really cool. And then he did a really great job. Yeah, and he did a really great job finishing out the series. And you could go look. I mean, those are some of the best books in the series, and like, and so I was like, after that, I was like, I got to look into who this Sanderson guy is, right? Because he did like a really good job. And so then I saw, Elantris pop up, I saw Mistborn pop up, and I saw Stormlight pop up, which at the time, I think it was only Way of Kings that was out. And so then I was like, all right, let's start there. And then Words of Radiance had come out, and then I read that. It was like right before Words, anyway, that began, but I did not go through the Cosmere in the ways that like I now shepherd people.
Yes.
Right? Because I want them to have all these cool experiences and have these revelations and have the knowledge so that when they read a certain line, their mind explodes, right? I didn't get that stuff until I went back on like rereads after I'd read the Cosmere, or like, and then another book would come out and be like, "Oh, now I've read Warbreaker, so I know that this is this,"
Yeah.
So that was what did it for me. That was a very long answer, but as you can tell, I'm like crazy passionate about the Cosmere and fantasy in general, so I could talk forever.
It's wild because there's just so much there already, and we're like not even, in theory, we're not even halfway through what he would consider the Cosmere, which is insane.
Wow.
To me. To answer the question myself, I got into the Cosmere. I'm sure this is how a lot of people got into it, like myself, but huge fan of Song of Ice and Fire. Read every one of the books like 5 times and just kept waiting for it to come out, and then eventually just fell off of that train because I'm literally still waiting. It's been over 10 years since the last mainline book came out. And someone told me.
I've been reading that since I can't even remember, like way early on. Like I feel like it's been my entire life. Like I remember waiting 9 years for Dance, dude. I feel you.
I was literally in high school when Dance of Dragons came out, and as much as I like Fire and Blood, finish the series, please. I would love an ending to that.
Or they just die and Sanderson comes in and like all these famous authors, like Sanderson's just gonna come in and finish it. No,
that would be kind of hilarious though, because of how many times he said specifically he's not gonna do that. They're like, he gets the call and he's like, "Oh God, okay, fine,
I have to do it for the
give
people."
Me a few years, yeah. Yep.
I've also written The Stone Door and The Thorn of Emberlane. Here you go. So
grabs up his travel typewriter. Off he goes.
Yep. And that's just all within the next year.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly.
At the speed he writes. Yeah.
Yes, it's true.
Cool. So yeah.
Oh, sorry, you were reading Game of Thrones, waiting forever.
Reading Game of Thrones, waiting forever, and a friend.
Did I say Game of
recommended-
Thrones? Oh my god, I want to vomit. Ice and Fire. Go ahead, continue.
That being said, I think I was literally reading Game of Thrones, the first book, when I
Okay.
was like, okay, I'm gonna give up. This is like the fourth time I've read this. I need something new. Discovered Way of Kings because Oathbringer had like just come out at this point, and started reading Way of Kings. I'm like, okay, this is good. This is pretty good. Okay, I see what's happening. And then just as that book kept going on, I really just fell in love with it. And then Words of Radiance just boom knocked it out of the park. And I was gonna take a break. People told me to read Warbreaker in between Words of Radiance and Oathbringer. I did not. I just jumped right in. And I had a pretty good experience. I'm not mad that I did it that way. And then I just read everything back to back.
And then again.
And then again, yes, another one. I did it again, and then again. Yeah, that's pretty much how I got into it. How about you, Emily?
Well,
Did
there was
someone
this
force you to read that?
fantastic nerdy lad who I met at work, and actually, there were two different points. You're the one who got me to read a lot more of the series and actually fall in love with his short stories, and is making me willing to revisit the series again. And because I know a lot about the world lore, I actually have a lot more interest in it after watching your videos. So you have
Nice plug.
awoken
Yes.
something.
For
within
those
my
of you that
nerdy
aren't
brain.
aware, Emily is my script editor, so she goes over all my scripts, picks them apart, tells me what's changed, and she's
And he
the
doesn't do
reason
it.
my videos are any good. Yeah, and then I don't do it, of course, but you can blame her for all the good stuff, and you can blame me for all the bad stuff.
If you see any misspellings, it's my fault.
Sure, I'll let that one slide.
Yeah. Zeal says, and now she's making us read it. The cycle continues. Well,
Yeah.
there was a lot of pressure from both Kyle and I as well to have her
That gets
pressure y'all to
uncomfortable.
read it.
Yes.
So it's kind of a trickle down effect.
Well, I felt so bad. I remember the first time
Literally trickle down effect.
Well, this is full spoilers, so I guess I can just go ahead and say it. I was doing a video talking about, I think Dalinar or something like that, and how he might pick up some sort of shard at some point. And I mentioned Harmony, and I'm like, before you read this script, you have to finish Mistborn. And she's like, I'm not going to do that anytime soon. I'm just going to plow through this. She's like, ooh, this does seem interesting. And I'm like, yes.
But it's like, here's the thing that's gonna be so I'm so bummed about because of this, you know stuff, and you're not like that is so the Sanderson has this thing where basically like he drops all these like breadcrumbs and all these different things, and you're like, Howard, okay, I see how some of these are tying together, but then there's always something you don't see, and then yet it comes in and perfectly ties it all together, like 3/4 of the way in through the book. We call it the Sanderstorm, and like experiencing that for the first time is like so mind-blowingly cool, especially because I'm one of those people that like predict how things end. I see what's going to happen, like so if I get surprised or like and Mistborn. That's why I'm like, I want you to read the whole trilogy, because the first, like, the best, like, Sanderstorm experience is at the end of book 3, when everything that's been happening all, like, ties together, and, like, all of this stuff happens, and then it all, like, starts to make sense, and you, like, your mind is blown. And then on top of that, there's a novella after that to tell you about a whole nother story that was happening behind the scenes in the background to contribute to all of that happening. And it's like, you know stuff now. So it's like you'll still enjoy it, but like you're not gonna get that whoa experience, you know.
I have an interesting response to that. 1 second.
Really
Kyle,
quickly.
You saw what Zeal said
Yeah,
about
just looking at
sound.
chat, you guys' audio is a little bit crackly. Is it a little bit better now? I turned down the
That's,
volume there. It looked like it was clipping.
maybe that
hopefully.
is the issue.
Audio is very, very chopped still. Is it for
Let's see.
everyone?
Well, it might give it a second.
Yeah,
It sounds like it's you pulling in your Discord source. If it's Emily and I both.
that is correct.
It could be. La la la.
La 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 la. It
A
seems like a
connection issue.
connection issue? Interesting.
There's always something.
There's always something. Yeah.
You're also recording on your end, right?
I am recording as of right
Great.
now. Yeah.
At least that won't affect the recording.
Yep. Nope. Won't affect the recording in theory.
In theory.
Let's see. This happens to Emily when she's downloading things.
It's true. It's when. Can you check your task manager and just see if it might be a little hot right now? What I'm going to do.
Oh, I have
is I'm going to record all of our audio.
so
on my
much
side.
overhead on everything.
Close everything.
Like I'm only using half my GPU, 7% of my CPU, Ethernet.
Zach would like to know if you're downloading an update for Risk of Rain, Kyle.
No, not this time. Are
you downloading 17 different versions of Risk of Rain, Kyle?
Not this time. Maybe in the near future. How much rain can one risk? Never enough is the answer, I think. Could it be on YouTube's end? It's possible it could be on YouTube's end. You know, weirdly enough, it's telling me the current bitrate is higher than recommended, even though it's saying I have like a 20,000 kilobit per second bitrate currently. When I supposedly lowered it to like 4K, something like that.
That's true, you did. And it suggests you do that. Can you change it live?
No,
I don't think so.
Have to stop and restream.
I would have to stop and restream.
And I'll do a backup.
And it was fine earlier. Weird. Very strange.
Oh, that is strange.
Okay.
Oh, same link, right?
It should be the same link in theory. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to stop really quick. We're going to be right back with you. So sit tight. And when we come back, we're going to talk all about the story of Lost Metal. We're going to go into the lore, and we're going to start some somewhat baseless theorizing, hopefully. It's going to be fun.
Sure.
Let's double check this.
Measure twice, cut once.
Okay. In theory, we should be back up.
All
Let me
right.
refresh this and double check. Chat, you can probably tell me if that's the case or not.
Yeah, we're back.
The
Zach
return. I love it. Hopefully, we're doing a little bit better this time. I can see the stream this time, so that's a good sign.
Yeah,
That's
it
definitely a
sounded
good
better.
sign. Sounded better. Okay.
Yay.
Fantastic.
Sound check in the beginning sounded fine, so I'm that's so interesting.
Yeah. Go figure. Technology, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Well, would we like to jump into the story, talking all about the story, Chad?
Yeah, for sure. Let's
Okay.
go.
I've gone ahead and broken it up into. There's really two main arcs in this particular book. You got Wax and Wayne doing their own thing for a little while, and then Marcy goes off and does her thing with a certain dead person. I guess I'm so used to dancing about spoilers. This is full spoilers. We're going for it. It's Kelsier. He's back, baby. He's
The
back.
second
for
there's
more. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, the second she was like, or they found a symbol of like interlocking triangles or whatever. It's like Ghost Bloods. Like like immediately.
Yep.
Got very excited.
Man.
Man.
Yeah. Moonlight when she shows up.
Dude.
Amazing. I didn't get who it was at first, but it's oh, Emily, you'll know this character. The person that's I think her name is Shay. Shay.
Oh.
I've never said it out loud, but from Emperor's Soul, she shows up in this book. Yeah.
I know that one.
Yeah. She is now a member of the Ghost Bloods, who is going around doing her stamp-based magic on other planets. She found a way around all of the weird connection stuff.
Limitations, which is so interesting. And the other thing too is like we haven't really seen what's been going on Cell in quite a long time. Like since like Emperor Soul is like our only look, other than like there was like a dude in the lighthouse in the cognitive realm.
It's somewhere in Oathbringer, I want to say.
Yeah, like Oathbringer that just says Merciful Doma, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right, Elantris, you're from Cell, cool. But like, so and also Emperor's Soul is so heavily focused on soul stamping, right? And like that whole process, and I'm like, oh, this is the way that magic has changed and evolved, right? Like this is the way that like maybe Aeons, have like evolved into like stamps, or is what I was thinking when I was reading that. And I was like, what happened to like Aeon Dor and like, the Elantrians, and like, do they still exist, or like, right?
Yeah.
And then one of the coolest parts of the book, and I love that we're skipping so much just to talk about this because we both like it's really wanted
such
to.
a cool part. Yeah.
And when she stamps herself and becomes an Elantrian, like I was like, I knew it was. I was like, sorry, I hoped it was gonna happen, but I was like, I don't know, but that'd be crazy,
Chekhov's
right?
gun that you want to see go off, though. You're praying the whole book like, okay, she's got to stamp herself at some point and turn into a freaking Elantrian. Who knows how this is gonna work? And then all of a sudden, the door shows up, unkeyed investiture, basically.
Yes.
And yeah, who knows where she went now?
Well, it's also like out of all the magic systems,
Yeah.
like Aeon Dor's insane.
Yeah.
Like, and so that's why like I just assumed that because of the Emperor's Soul, we're obviously in the future, like I don't know. I just assumed they were just like that all, they let it go down, let it go away. Like the people died out. They decided not to, like, I don't know. But I guess it doesn't make sense because once they fixed everything at the end of Elantris, right? Of course they're going to have like a thriving society, but it's just like, since there was no mention of that or like anything, I was like, and also like, it would just be so overpowered.
Yeah.
To be able to do that. And it's like, I mean, I guess like maybe they'll be limited by how much door they have access to off world.
I think that's the real limiting factor is, well, and that's the big key
Well,
that
Stormlight.
It looks like Kelsier is looking for, is that unkeyed investiture where you can use magic essentially anywhere for any purpose, or to fuel your own magical powers is the thing. And that's going to be big in the future. So we got the door we can look forward to get that from. In theory,
Stormlight.
we might be able to get Stormlight there, yeah, but that seems like it's going to be a little bit of an issue. We'll figure that one out.
Transportation is the problem there,
Transportation's the hard problem because it doesn't want to leave Roshar, yeah.
Exactly. We should probably talk about the story.
We should probably
because we
talk
both
about the
immediately
story.
went in like, let's go Cosmere.
I know. Okay.
Yeah, so I'll give you like my overall thoughts on the
Go
story.
for it. Shoot.
So I started reading it, and I was like, almost immediately, I was like, Wayne's gonna die. Like, just almost immediately. I could just like, there was so much telegraphing of like,
From the prologue,
like I literally think, even for the prologue, then like, and we go, and like by the time he was at the bar after Milan had broken up with him and Renette had that conversation about like the second he decided to no longer show up in person to hand the money to the girl anymore, I was like, oh, he's 100% gonna die at the end of this book.
He's going
so, like,
through
I was
personal growth. He's definitely gonna die.
He's definitely gonna die. And we knew it's the last Mistborn Era 2 book.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, I already said that. It was really funny because I was talking with a person who I'd walked through the Cosmere, and I was like, I was DMing with him. It was Shen's of the Lost, and I was just like, because that guy can read like nobody's business. So he had that book consumed in like a day, right? And so I'm like, and I'm just like, this is what I'm thinking, and as I'm like giving all these updates, right? Because like afterwards, I was like, okay, I'm done. He's just like, dude, holy shit. He's like, how did you predict like that whole book? And I was just like, I mean, it's like because I felt like Sanderson was having a lot of fun with this one because it got real campy.
That's
like
exactly
even for
what I was saying, yeah.
Even for Wax and Wayne,
you could tell he's having a lot of fun writing this, and the thing is, it didn't necessarily work at every point. I don't think,
right?
But
like,
it was fun to watch him having fun as like one last blast with these characters that kind of evolved from just these fun little campy Western stories, you know?
Yeah. Oh no, for sure. But it's like, it was just like, I expect this series to be campy, this era, like, but like, it was like, man, we went the fight with the other steel pusher Duralumin using the first one, where it's like, oh, he managed to, thank God, get just enough into his mouth so that then he could push, and then he was falling, and it happened to be right in front of him. It's like, I was just like, oh, come on. The other part that really got me was like the massive jump to conclusion of like, okay, we finally got a piece of Trellium, right? Great, cool, totally on board. Wax is going to go experiment with it. Absolutely. He's a metallurgist. Like, we know this. Of course he's going to do it. Oh, cool. He's been trying to split Harmonium this whole time? That's really interesting. Okay, of course he'd be trying to do that. Let's see what happens. What can come from that? Are we going to get Atium? You know, like, is what I'm thinking, right? You know, and all this. And then the explosion happens.
Yeah. Yep.
And within
Of
pages.
course. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like within pages, they're like, wow, that created a huge explosion. My God, what if they know about this incredibly specific, very rare, need to have all of these requirements things? My God, clearly they're making a bomb. And I'm like, what?
Where did you...
Why would you jump to that conclusion when we better look for explosions? Wait, no, earthquakes. There it is. And I was just like...
This is from the era of like human history, though, where essentially everyone was just trying to make the biggest bomb possible before we discovered the nuke. Like, what if we threw just a bunch of dynamite at things? Would that work? And that's essentially what they've made here. Just the world's, well, and we see at the end, it's the world's biggest explosion, right? Yeah. Amazing.
Absolutely. But that was the thing, is like that, those two scenes, like specifically, I was like, man, we really just like took the camp. That's when I was like, all right, Sanderson's literally just like having a heyday. This is for him. Like, he's just having fun. And I'm like, you know what? I'm along for the ride. I was like, this probably isn't my favorite book. Unless, again, this is as I'm experiencing it. And then we got to the Marcy Ghostblood stuff, and that's when I was like, oh, you. It's like, you did that. You're doing part of it just for you, but then this one's for us. Like,
and Marcy in particular, I think, was the more interesting storyline out of those two pathways.
Absolutely.
Wax and Wayne over here, Marcy over there. Marcy's was definitely like, okay, let's start peeling back the curtain a little bit, whereas Wax and Wayne was like, okay, I want to send these characters off, and I got to wrap up their stories before I do this other stuff. What did you think of Wax's arc in particular?
It was a little weird because it was like, throughout all of Era 2, you know, it's him going from like, I'm escaping my fate to I'm accepting my fate, and this is how I can be a lawman, but in the city, and also do my responsibilities. And then we have the whole thing with the Bands of Mourning, and then after that he's like, wow, like, all right, I'm gonna get into politics because that's actually, and we have this really sweet, touching moment where he's, you know, with his son and like realizing that he doesn't miss the roughs anymore, and it's like, this is great, and he's like ready to just like commit himself to politics, and like, I'm gonna help this way even though it's frustrating, and I'm okay with that. And then Harmony's like, hey bro.
What if everyone was making bombs though? Yeah.
Right. Well, and that's the thing too, is like I felt like it was weird because it was like, I get the telling that story of like every time you think you're over something, it gets like drudged back up, which is kind of Wax's story, like especially with Lessie.
Just again,
but like
again and again.
Yeah, and it's like once he's like, or even once he's like found something good, it's like, your world's getting turned over. Thanks, Harmony. And it's like I get the repeating of that, but I also felt like it kind of would have been more natural for him to stick to like what he had done, like I don't know, letting Marcy and Wayne like go
take
off
over.
And take over. And like I loved the whole like Marcy with with Wayne partner stories that they were doing, and like their banter was great but different, and like Marcy handles things a lot differently than Wax does in the way she's using allomantic grenades, and I was like they could totally do this, but then it was just like, nah, never mind, send Superman back in, you know, like
that's the impression I got as well, because I was like, at the beginning I was like, oh wow, okay, he's a senator now. I'm very excited to see where they take this as a character, because he's been building up this new skill set over 6 years, and then just like that, you're Luke at the beginning of Last Jedi, just whoop, nope, see ya, toss the lightsaber back, I don't need that anymore. who needs senators now? I'm gonna go be Harmony's sword in some other town. And it was nice to see Steris step up and be like a leader in that regard. But I would have liked to see Wax really come into his own and be the person that he's been building up to be for the last few years.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And like, and here's the thing too, man. I have to give Sanderson so much credit for there. It's very hard as an author to take a character that is unlikable initially and then make you like them.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of the things, like, I have a huge, like, it's also one of my biggest qualms with the show Game of Thrones. What Martin did with Jaime Lannister was absolutely incredible. Like, going on that, is most hated. This guy has committed the most vile, horrible things, and you just hate this person. Yeah. And then he goes through so much stuff that by the end, he come out of it, and you're like, you know what? Way to go! I'm rooting for Jaime, right? Like, and so like that's things like when Steris is first introduced, you're just like, oh, like it's just like, come on, like we all want him to get with Marcy, like she's obviously a better fit, and like you're like, oh my god, Steris is just so annoying anytime she's in a chapter, blah blah blah, and then he just masterfully takes you on this journey, and then you realize it's like her own insecurities, but then Wax, like you see her as Wax is starting to see her, and like. And it's like so sweet and supportive and how they complement each other. And then I was just like, yeah, the second we got to there in that, I was just like, yeah, screw Marcy, like Steris all the way. Yeah. Like, you know, and like, and I was so glad that like Steris got her, like, it's just amazing to see throughout this book, them working together so well. And then also like her like ultimate dream job that she gets in the epilogue.
Isn't it amazing? Yeah.
It's so good.
It's like, we want you to be the disaster planning
prevention
expert,
planner.
Yeah. It's everything that her character arc has been leading up to and done in like a very campy way, but like it makes sense for her character. Absolutely. She's living her best life.
Exactly. I was so happy for that. For sure. But yeah, no, that's so like it was cool. Like it's good to see Wax kicking some ass again, but it's also like, I don't know, man. Like it was
I wanted him to turn it over to Wayne for once. I think this would have been a perfect opportunity too.
Yeah. And I'd say he never really turned it over to Wayne. Wayne kind of took it at the end.
Yeah. And that's I respect that. I do.
Yeah. Wax still has a spike, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's still got a spike.
That's what I was like, because I went back and I reread and I was just like, we didn't. Yeah, because you can't really pull it out. I mean, I guess if anybody could find a way, it would be like Harmony, but But I was like, yeah, so he's still spiked.
So Wax is still spiked, and he definitely inhaled some Lerasium during the explosion thing. Yeah, let's talk about that for a sec.
Okay, this is one of the things, too. I'm like, I've read so much Sanderson and Cosmere that I'm like extra, like, I got my eyes out, right?
You're looking,
So after the explosion happened, he's sitting in his chair or whatever, talks about he's feeling a little weird and dizzy. And I was like, searing that into my brain. I was like, something happened. And so one of the things I sent Shenzo was, I was like, we were like halfway through the book or something like that. And I just like typed it. I just like, I just want you to know that at this point, Sanderson thinks that we've all forgotten about the fact that Wax was feeling weird after that explosion. But here's what's going to happen. It either made him a Mistborn or like created ATM or gave him access to something like that. And we're going to see it. And then like Harmony gives him the special vials or whatever. And then I was like, this has only furthered my point. Like,
yes. We know exactly where it's going if you've been paying attention. Yeah. And then at the end, he gets thrown out the boat and doesn't get to be a full Mistborn, which is totally fine. I think it's very interesting to see why he's setting that up, though, because he's not just doing it willy-nilly. Like, why will Wax's like line be important in the future or something like that? Because he by the epilogue, he knows something weird went down.
And we know that.
Yeah,
and we know that like everybody that the Lord Ruler gave Lerasium to, like it was then passed down genetically. Like,
yeah.
So if he has, did they hold on in the epilogue? They always had the two kids, so they hadn't had so they'd had those before he was exposed.
That's correct. Yeah.
So interesting. We'll see if he ends up having another kid and what that could potentially mean.
Yeah.
Later on down the line.
Because I do kind of wonder why he would have given Wax all that stuff if not for something else in the future. A few books down the line, maybe even fourth era. We'll see. But yeah.
We shall see.
Okay. I think we've exhausted Wax and Wayne for now. We'll come back to them a little bit later. What did you think
curious
of
about something?
Okay, one last question. Yeah.
Yes, with Wax, if his fate had not gone that way, what would you have assumed would happen next?
What do you mean?
So the end of the book kind of occurred as you had suspected it would.
Yes.
And Wax's fate has been determined. But if that had not gone that way and he had gone the politics path, what do you think would have happened?
Oh, that's interesting. I think well, there was a few endings that I could have seen happening for Wax. Like he goes the political path, and then at the end he turns into Harmony Sword or whatever. But I thought if he were to become Harmony Sword, he would like stay an active agent of Harmony, as opposed to like what happened is he's kind of like, okay, I'm going to do this last job for you, and then I'm going to...
One last ride.
Exactly. One last ride. There was a lot of that in this book.
Too old for this.
Yeah. Oh, I'm getting too old for this. I think he even says something very similar to that at one point. And I thought we were going to see him like go off-world and traipse around the Cosmere, skipping around a cell and, you know...
Speaking of which, I'm sorry. I know what people are going to say, like, oh, it was in character with Marcy. I don't care. I wanted her to join the Ghostbloods, okay?
I don't know if it was in character for Marcy. She had a decision at the end to join the Ghostbloods, and I do think that it would have made a lot of sense for her to take that offer. She wants to do the most amount of good, and it's not like they're actively working against Scadrial. Like, they're working for Scadrial to further their interests.
Yeah.
And where that's going to go.
Mainly for Kelsier to, one, find a way to fully restore him, or at least allow him to get off-world, and two, run a Cosmere-wide crime syndicate. But hey, it's Kelsier.
Yeah. But a fun crime syndicate.
But a fun crime syndicate.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting, too, because getting this other side of it, and this is one thing I found so fascinating, was this felt a lot more like the way Kelsier ran his crew in the olden days, right? And we get a lot more side of that, as opposed to the side of the Ghostbloods we've seen in Stormlight from Marays and everything, which is like really dark and like sinister.
Very different Ghostbloods that we've seen in Stormlight. Yeah.
Very different vibe, right? And so that's why I was like, that's what I always thought was really weird when like I started to like draw the dots that Thydakar is Kelsier. Was like, but like, I mean, is he just like really jaded over like after like 400 years of being a cognitive shadow, or like?
It gets me wondering, like, is he on his best behavior in Scadrial? And then he goes like,
probably
hey,
not.
You guys over there, like, I don't care what you have to do over on Roshar. I want this job done, or something like that. Something weird is definitely going on there.
Yeah.
And I could see it going either way, but I kind of lean towards the he's letting them do their own thing to accomplish their own means, and this is just how they're choosing to do it.
Yeah. It's just this felt so much more like, you know, like I said, Kelsier's crew, and like this is the way we run. Hey, no secrets from everybody. Like we're a family basically, but you got to be in, otherwise, you know, F you.
Basically, yeah. I'm very excited to see where Ghostbloods in particular go in Stormlight. And then also how they play into like the greater Cosmere in general, because there's a lot of secret organizations that are just kind of floating around right now.
Oh yeah, well you got everybody from like Silverlight, and you got the Irie, and then like there's gonna be.
We've been building them up, and they're gonna start into like coming into some big conflict soon.
I think there's gonna be an Irie Ghostbloods conflict for sure.
I could definitely see that happening. Yeah. I think Kelsier has been stealing their door, literally, and they're not about that. They're obviously bordering on Scadrial in the cognitive realm, so they're just going to be butting heads one way or another. And did we? I will say we did see K's, I think, from Elantris is in the Ghostbloods. That was code names.
Oh, was that?
Yeah. That was
Interesting.
one.
I love that. Code names are stupid. So good.
It's great. It's great. Again, he was just having so much fun writing this.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yeah. So Emily, just to explain it to anyone else who's just not caring about spoilers and just sitting through this, when Marcy is introduced into like the Ghostbloods headquarters, so Moonlight had already and let her know that like they all have code names, right? So they're real names if they choose to share them or whatever, but they all have to have a code name. And so they go into there and Moonlight introduces Marcy to a person named Codenames, which is short for Code Names Are Stupid. So that was
Oh my goodness.
the person took their name as Codenames Are Stupid as their code name.
I love
Dumb.
that.
Fun.
It's fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of personality in these books.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially Wayne.
Wayne is
Oh.
all personality. Yeah. Do you think it was too much Wayne in this book?
Yeah,
Like-
probably just from the fact of again leading up to the like it was just like constantly like it's just a megaphone screaming, Wayne's gonna die. Like
Right.
it's,
And by the time they're like sitting on top of a billboard, sharing a beer, talking about, oh, this is just like the old days. You're
Well-
sitting there like, just do it already.
yeah.
But yeah, no, it was nice to see Wayne have a send off. It very much felt like Wayne's book in a way that it didn't feel like Wax's book, like every other one of Era 2 did. He was way less prominent in this one, had way less to do, and yeah, ultimately, I mean, it was his sister that was the big bad in this book, but
Yeah. I honestly think like
yeah,
other than cool fights, you probably could have pulled Wax out of this book.
kind of, yeah,
Interesting.
Like
yeah. He wasn't doing a whole lot. It was really Wayne's book, Wayne and Marcy.
yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
So,
Wayne and Wayne.
Wayne and Wayne, yeah, yeah. And for those of you that don't know, the Wax and Wayne joke is they're named Wax and Wayne, but they don't understand that it's weird that they're named Wax and Wayne because Scadrial doesn't have a moon that waxes and wanes.
And Wayne's.
Yeah,
Oh no.
yeah, yeah.
Correct.
Again,
Hence why Moonlight, when she introduces herself, she was like, "Oh wait, you won't
Oh.
understand because you don't have a moon here."
yeah.
If
Yep.
you've never seen a moon, can you moon other people?
It would probably be called something else.
I'm sure Wayne could answer
Ask
this
Wayne.
one.
Yeah.
Oh, son.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great question to ask Wayne.
Yeah. I don't know if you'd want the answer or not, though.
You'd probably just imitate it, eh?
Hey, there's a lot of deep wisdom in the Wayneisms.
Dude, I very much could have seen Wayne becoming like a Khandra of some sort.
Dude, like yeah, or however, like
Something.
spike
yeah.
him, but he's got like health, like if we could spike him so that he can compound and then he could live for like ever and then he could be with Milan.
Yep.
Oh god, my
Yep.
heart. I was like,
Oh.
So
Oh.
apparently Harmony just can't make Khandra anymore, it seems like, which is odd. There's something weird is maybe this is a perfect
Well, it's because of
opportunity to
what's-
jump into lore.
Yeah,
Do
we
we
can go
want to
into
just
that.
go into Harmony at this point and start talking about what exactly is going on with them?
yeah, for sure. Nice transition.
Lore time. Thank you. What do you have to say about Harmony, Chad?
It's not going great for
They're
Harmony.
not having the best time, are they?
Nope. Apparently what you would hope would be a perfect balance between ruin and preservation, though we have it's always been said that ruin is stronger than preservation. And so that has started, it seems to starting to shift to an imbalance. First, it was keeping him very stagnant and making it very harder and harder and harder for him to make decisions and to enact and to protect Scadrial, which is one of the reasons that Autonomy was able to like mist blind him
Yes.
or whatever the
Yes.
heck that was. And it's like he just hasn't been able to then, which is causing him not to be able to see as much, and then it's leading to like more and more like discord, if you will.
Well, I think that's a perfect opportunity to talk about what we think Discord is going to be, because there's I've seen a lot of people posting about Discord becoming Harmony becoming Discord and what exactly that will look like.
Well,
yeah.
yeah, that's wild, especially because it almost seems like, and I don't know if he is going to become this or if something else is forming, because Kelsier, when he had that talk with Harmony in the epilogue, he was like, "Oh, great!" He's basically not followed by that weird shadow version of himself this time, and I'm like, "Uh-oh!" Like,
Yeah.
can two shards make another shard?
I think
Ooh.
okay. So Sanderson has said
Like,
if for some reason Sazed as a vessel were to die, he would drop what he's currently holding. He wouldn't drop Ruin and Preservation. He'd drop just one shard, basically.
If one shard
what he
really, really
currently
loves the
is.
other shard.
interesting. What happens? Yeah, what happens to the other shard?
Well, no, they've combined into one. Is what's happening.
Got it.
Yes.
So he would drop the Harmony shard, right?
You could call it Harmony, potentially.
Or
yes.
potentially something else, right?
I agree, Overwriter. Discord moderator Sazed is terrifying. We don't want to see that anytime soon.
Well, it's interesting too because we've seen two other powers like coming together before. That's what the door is. It's devotion and domination, and those are two conflicting powers.
Yeah.
But then, basically, what just turned into this sea of energy. But is that because they lived in the cognitive realm? Yeah. So, I'm like, I could see it as create like it could either be him turning into Discord, or it could literally be like. Is like a literal cognitive shadow of him version forming that then becomes a new shard that is Discord. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I think Discord is going to be what the shard eventually ends up becoming. Oh, it's doing the audio thing again.
Yes.
Lovely.
Would you check to see if maybe the output changed again?
Oh, I'm gonna lose it. No, it says the video's fine, or
Could
at
be
least where it
buffering.
was. Weird.
Possibly it just needs to catch up again.
That's possible. Yeah. We're just gonna push through this one and see if it keeps going or if it stops.
I'm getting everything on my side as a backup.
I'm getting everything too. And I see still just Chad and Emily. Okay, that's weird.
There's just whatever's getting brought in.
Odd. Are other people experiencing this issue as well?
Oh,
If
it
not-
100%. It's like I checked it too on my end. It was also on the archived recording. So
Great.
Possibly just do a quick restart again, see if it smooths out.
I wonder if it had something to do. You know what? I'm gonna switch back to this stream, or this background. I think it had something to do with switching scenes. It just didn't like that.
let's see.
Comment
it was also
now
doing it on
if
the
it's
scene
better
earlier.
or worse or medium. In the meantime,
Still getting some chop.
still getting some chop.
Yeah, it's still doing it.
The same. Amazing. Okay. Here's what we're gonna do.
There'll be multiple edits, and we'll just stop the stream and start the stream. That's what you're gonna have to do every
I
time this
think
happens.
so. Yeah. Okay. We'll see you guys in a bit.
You could give Emily the stream key, and she could stream.
I know, I was thinking next time we'll have to do that.
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure something out for next time. I'll see you guys in less than a minute. Be right back. Okay. In theory, we should be up and running again.
Looking good.
Let's see.
Double check this. Yeah.
All right, it's not doing the sound bite again.
Okay.
Sounds better. Let's keep
Weird.
on going.
Let's keep going. You guys let me know if it happens again, and we'll do this as many times as we need to.
So you were saying about Shar.
We're saying about shards that obviously something is happening with Harmony and Discord and what they're going to become. Now, a big issue, or I guess not necessarily issue, but a big question is this actually going to be a net positive for Scadrial as a whole and Cosmere as a whole?
For the
general?
Cosmere, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, is this going to allow Sazed to act and he has enough control over himself?
Yeah.
But, we've absolutely seen that, like, one of the things that these shards do is, like, their essence, like, very much takes over
Yep.
a host.
Yep.
And makes them lean into that. And Discord doesn't really sound like a great time for everything going on, right?
It doesn't sound fantastic for the Cosmere, but I could very much see Discord kind of... Okay, so to bring it into Stormlight, like, Odium really, 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 really wanted to build up this whole army for Conquest or something like that. I could see Discord doing the same thing in Era 3, because we get a lot of this set up for a big war between the North and the South in Era 3. And if he's preparing them by pushing them technologically towards some greater conflict, then that would make sense overall. Like, using Discord to further Sazed's goals could potentially be something that happens or makes sense in the greater whole. I don't think it's going to be great for the Cosmere, but I think it might work out for Scadrial. Yeah.
It'll be very interesting to see. And it's just like, because we've already, like, Sazed's already, like, at least knows what's going on with Roshar a little bit, which we've seen in letters.
Yeah.
Between him and Hoyd and others. So it's like, oh man, I don't know what this means, and especially with the current state of Odium.
Yeah.
Like,
It's going to be interesting.
Oh Lord.
And there's so much there's so much context that's going to be answered in Stormlight 5 that we don't know for, like, the context of this book, because stuff is going to be going down. Especially since Odium is now, it says full Cosmere spoilers. Since Taravangian has now taken over the taken over as the vessel of Odium. And he...
Masterfully done.
He, really props to Sanderson for pulling that, because that's one of those things where if you look back, it's like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. But in the moment, I could not have predicted that happening. I really could not have.
He was like, I am the sword or whatever, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah. It's terrifying. It's gonna be
so weird.
Yeah.
And it's like, we've gotten to know Taravangian so much and know how, like, ruthlessly practical he's that before the greater good character, right?
Yep.
And so it's like, man, what's he gonna do?
Is he gonna be furthering previous Odium's goals, or does he have different goals now? Is the thing, because previous Odium, it was just like total shardic conquest, right? Going around destroying everything else, breaking it all up, and making sure he was the only one that had any say in anything. Is Taravangian...
He's trying to Highlander it. Yeah.
He's trying to Highlander it, exactly. Is Taravangian now going to be more accepting of other shards, maybe even more willing to absorb other shards? And yeah, Overrider, Discord versus Odium will be absolutely chaotic. If Odium's able to get off of Roshar. But again, we have no context.
Which he can't. He can't, though. Previous Odium wanted it, so... Well, hold on.
Yeah, that's the question.
You're right. Is he no longer bound because it's not the same vessel? That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that yet.
we just have no clue what's going to be going on there, because Sazed could very well be setting up these conflicts between the North and the South to prepare for like either Odium invasion or maybe his own threats that he's seeing from.
I could absolutely see him making like an alliance. Like that's the thing that freaks me out, because it's like, especially because it was talked about in the Lost Metal that Sazed is like the most powerful, which is one of the reasons like that Autonomy got so freaked out. Is like, whoa, dude's holding 2 shards. Like, you know, we gotta
acceptable. Yeah,
not acceptable. We can't deal with that, you know. And so it's like, especially if he like loses this balance of harmony and he becomes Discord, and if he can actually act like, I know he's a very young shard, but then so is Taravangian. So it's like, who knows? This is gonna get wild. I can see this like massive, like Cosmere war, happening.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Overwriter says Discord versus Odium might just be the most chaotic clash between shards. It sounds like you agree with that.
Yeah, well, that's what Kyla just read that. Yeah.
It's definitely gonna be chaotic is, I think, a good way to put it, especially if you throw Discord into the mix. If he fully embraces this Discord image, all bets are off, really, because he is going to be super powerful. One thing I could see happening, though, is though Taravangian Odium is terrifying, I could see him working more closely with the other 2 shards in a way that previous Odium wouldn't have even considered, right?
Right.
And we just don't know what he's going to be doing at this point.
Mm-hmm. Also interesting to see what Hoyd's going to be doing.
Yeah, because he's on Scadrial, man. Where's Design at? He's just chilling out somewhere. Somewhere off. He's just right over there. Or
yeah, that was so.
Yeah,
he's just still a coachman. He can just keep showing up, and I'm just like,
yep.
That was. Oh, I loved the quick little exchange between him and Moonlight or whatever when he was just talking. He was like, yeah, no, we don't.
A little bit of context there. In Emperor's Soul, Emily, you'll recall, there was a court jester that was the one that stole the Moon Scepter and originally got her imprisoned. That's why she was in the prison. That was Hoyd.
I didn't realize that.
Yes, and he's Wax's coachman in this. And at one point, Shay pulls up right next to Hoyd, and she's like, basically, God, this guy sucks. But she's not outwardly hostile towards him. But I don't think the Ghostbloods have a particularly good relationship with Hoyd in general. He seems to have pissed quite a few
people don't.
Yeah, quite a few people off in his day. Yeah.
I just like Hoyd intrigues me because of like he just seems to be like not going after any shards, but instead collecting all of the magic systems.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
well, okay, here's my theory. I think he's trying to build connection to every magic system that he can, or in theory every shard he can, through himself, so as to either reforge Adonalsium or something to that extent, maybe even break them up more. Who knows?
I don't know, it's just so weird. But he's got a whole handful already. And the one I like to talk about that a lot of people forget about, and I'm actually really curious about this because I want to hear your opinion on it. So in Warbreaker, he tells the story using sand.
Yeah.
And this is kind of debated, and I want to know your thoughts on it. Does that come from his surge binding, or does that come from the fact that he has the power from white sand?
I lean more towards. See, I've always thought it was more of like a Yolish thing that he's practicing. Some sort of weird Yolish light weaving thing, though it's very possible that it's from white sand. Like it's
what's that called?
Sand mastery. We're just gonna call it sand bending from now on.
Yes, it really is. Let's be real here.
Yeah. Yep.
Sanderson wrote his own Avatar where they bend sand. Okay, they're graphic novels. They're called White Sand. You can check them out. but that never gets talked about, and it has no reference like anywhere else. And I like the only one that I could think of maybe was that when he's telling that story as a storyteller to Siri, whatever.
Siri.
Yeah, Siri. And then like he's doing the whole story and like the sand is like making the pictures and stuff. I'm like, oh, I don't know if that's light weaving or if it's like or like is it the sand mastery? No, Siri, I did not talk to you. Sorry, my phone activated. Wrong one.
I think he wrote Warbreaker before Siri was a thing, right? That must be so frustrating. Or maybe he finds it funny. Who knows?
Yeah.
Either way, I think the most likely explanation is it's sand bending, sand mastery, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it could be surge binding.
It could be.
Now that I'm
I don't
thinking
know.
about it. No, but he would have. Warbreaker was before Stormlight, in theory. Yeah, Warbreaker was before Stormlight in the timeline. So this would have been before he bonded with Design. So I don't think it's surge binding. Unless he already has another Spren that he left on some other planet somewhere. Yeah.
Anyway, it's yeah.
Anyways,
okay.
Yeah.
That's always something I think about. So,
Yeah. But let's just go over every one that he has. He is a full Mistborn.
Yep, we know that.
Can probably sand bend.
Right.
Surge binding, absolutely.
Surge binding.
He. Oh, what else?
We haven't seen him do any ferochemy.
No, we haven't. Not as far as we're aware.
It would not surprise me that he has a hemalurgic spike, but I don't think we have any.
Yeah, if he has a hemalurgic ferochemical spike, then that's two right there.
Yeah. But we haven't seen it. So
God, I feel like there's another big one.
3.
Oh, he stole the moon scepter, like we were just talking about. Which is has something to do with connection to Cell. I'm not sure what. I don't know if anyone knows what. But it has something to do with it. And
has he ever like made any references to like drawing a symbol in the air or anything like that? I'm trying to think if he has like.
He was at Dominion's shard pool at the end of Elantris, just talking to a Skaze, which is like the weird evil Seon things. Seon. Oh God, I forget how to pronounce it. Seon. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I did a whole pronunciation guide thing for one of my videos, and then there's so much to remember.
Oh yeah, no, it's all good. Speaking of Seons.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that was cool in Stormlight when she cracked the box open and it was this white glowing orb that would talk, and I was like, oh, like like
everyone gets a Seon now.
Everyone, yeah,
Kulon
apparently
has one. Hoyd has one. Mraize has one. Kelsier has one.
But Shallan's came from Mraize.
That's true, but she's
right?
I think she's talking to Mraize at some point, right? Unless
yes, I'm not saying he. Yeah, he definitely has another one, but I'm just saying like
he has another one.
There's the goat.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find like it's like most Seons outside of Cell are connected to Ghostblood, it seems.
Yeah.
And then knowing that Shy is somehow a part of the Ghostbloods.
Yeah.
Did Shy like steal some Seons and then like
I get you just
go
smuggle
join
them
the
off the
Ghostbloods?
planet? Yeah.
Like
convince them to join you or something like that? How does that exactly work? Like
or like have now that Elantrians are restored, do they now know how to create them again? Like
it's a good question. And in theory, like the Irie would want to be protecting these. Like they'd want to keep full control over them. So how are they getting out? How are they allowed to get out? What is going on?
Kelsier, Ghostblood stole him. That's like absolutely my like theory.
Absolutely.
Like,
I'm putting together a crew. We're gonna steal these
magical phones.
Oh yeah,
Cosmere phones.
Wow, I never thought about them that way. But yeah, they're just basically magic phones. Yeah, why isn't the Seons called Siri?
Yeah,
'Cause they
exactly.
help you with things, and you communicate with
You
them.
communicate with them.
Oh, yeah, amazing. Ah, we have a chat. Would be crazy if Yolen's
It's,
magic is more overpowered and broken than Surge Binding. Yeah. Well, do we know it's the origin of Adonalcium, though? I don't know. I think, yeah, Adonalcium created Roshar before he created Yolen, at least in theory. So
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if it would be more or less overpowered or anything. We know close to nothing about Yolen.
Right. And
I
then,
would love to
I
learn
mean,
more about that. Yeah.
oh, for sure. Well, I feel like that's like a pretty good transition because speaking of something to do with Adonalcium, is that we got okay, anytime we get in a book, we get a new magic system. It's like, oh hell yeah. But then this was like, hey, not only am I gonna drop a new magic system on you, but here's some lore, and also, oh, these things, these aethers, they might be older than Adonalcium, but he didn't give us a confirmation because they're like, that's debated, and I'm like, what?
I feel like that's going to be one of those things that he never actually confirms. 'Cause
Confirms?
There's a few
No.
that he said is going to happen. Like, we never know if cognitive shadows are actually going to be confirmed to be that person, or if they're just kind of the shadow of that person, an imprint, if you will. Like Vasher at one point says it's like tracing. If you trace on a bunch of paper a bunch of times, then a cognitive shadow is like what appears beneath the paper, right?
Right.
Like it's an imprint of who that person used to be. It's not who that person is.
Yeah.
And he
Was
said
that
he'll
what he's
never
talking with?
confirm
What,
it.
Relaine? Who's he talking with?
He's talking with Kaladin.
Or Kelsier? Or Kaladin? That was yeah. He was talking
Yeah,
with Kaladin.
yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Vasher talks to Kelsier. I missed this one.
Yeah. No. Yeah, what? No.
Yeah.
Well, that's another. Yeah, anyway, we can go off on that. But yeah, that was wild. Like this is the part where I'm just like fully. I'm already just like so excited to be like, okay, Twin Soul, what are you? What do you do? Okay, cool. And like like seeing like the little crystally magic and like all that. And he's like, I can convert water to
Converting,
or he dehydrates.
Yes. So basically, he needs a bunch of water to create what it's like some sort of
Crystal
crystalline
construct.
structures. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
And
I don't know too much. I don't think we have anything other than this book to go off of for aethers, right? Because they're
so there's
basically-
aethers and then there's primal aethers. We haven't seen anything else out. Like all of it that I know of, like got dropped in this book, and I was just like, and he's giving us more than just like this is my power and like I speak to whatever that thing's name was.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, but he's like, yeah, some say they're older than anyone else. He's like, well, this guy's actually a primal aether, which means he's one of the original ones. And you're like, I'm just like, oh, we're building a whole another world here inside this book,
What
are
is
we?
going on? Yeah. Okay, so here's how I understand it. Correct me if I have something wrong. But
Okay.
an aether is basically sort of like a spren that can connect to many different people. And
Yes.
they're kind of like someone at the center that's directing a bunch of different people and giving power out to all of them. As opposed to a spren that forms a bond with one person, it's one being that forms a bond with many people. And they're kind of responsible for their own investiture from there, whereas a spren is giving sort of the investiture.
You want to hear a crazy theory?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Is the Horde an aether?
The Horde?
The Hordelings, the from Stormlight. All the Kremling sentient people that they all are connected to a hive mind network, that then all come together and can be individuals, and they have like their own powers. Some are better at shapeshifting and things whatever than others. Is this because when they were talking about that, it's like, oh, I have connections to lots of different things, and I imbue power as like needed or whatever. And that was one of like my first thing was like, that's like a hive mind. That's like the Hordelings, and like,
What is an aether? Do we even know?
He said like a primal being. Here,
As
let's copper mine this thing.
yes, sir. From what I take it to be, oh, really, I have no clue what
An
an
ancient
aether
variety of invested entities present in the Cosmere. They originate in an unrevealed planet where the 12 primal aethers reside. Although the aethers have since spread to other worlds of the Cosmere, those who are bonded to one of the 12 primal aethers are able to manifest that aether, are known as aetherbound. Aethers have existed since prior to the shattering of Adonalsium, and some believe they predate Adonalsium itself or are totally independent from its creations.
Yeah, so we don't really know what an aether
We
is.
don't
Just
know.
some sort of invested entity. Okay,
Yeah,
so
like,
in
or like
theory,
maybe like a high spren of like. The other thing I was like, I went really Captain Planet with it.
yeah,
Because I hear
Yeah.
primal aethers, and I'm like, oh, cool. So this one's Earth, right? Or like Gem, right? Or whatever. Maybe another one will be fire. Another one will be air. You know, wind, water, heart. Yeah, like, like
exactly.
with your aethers combined.
We can create one Adonalsium. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
God, that'd be so cool. Yeah, no, I think it's kind of like, I think the Spren analogy is what it is. It's like one invested being that's connected to a bunch of different things. Are they like
Doesn't that sound
power
like the
level?
Hordlings though?
It sounds like the Hordlings to some extent, yeah. But the Hordlings are many different beings coming together to create one bigger being, although that bigger
True.
being then spawns smaller beings. I'm maybe it's all connected, honestly. Like, I could very much see that being the case as well. Where Kremlings were an offshoot of, or not Kremlings,
The Hordlings.
God, there's a specific term for them though. Sleepless.
Sleepless.
Yeah,
Sleepless.
there we go.
Yeah.
They're,
I just always call them the Horde and the Hordlings because
yeah,
I don't know why
yeah.
I forget their name.
And that it makes more sense to call them that too, because it's just this horde of minor creatures coming together to create this bigger one. Do you think there's any of those on Scadrial, since we're on the subject?
I have not. I look for that stuff because ever
Same.
since
Yeah.
I think it was Lift's novella Edge Dancer. When they first teased that, I was like, "What?" At the very first, I was like, "Oh, are we finally bringing up Axes the Collector again?" And then it was like, "Nope, never mind." And it was like, "It's a new thing," and I'm like, "Damn you!"
There's so many little threads dangling about there,
Dude.
especially in Stormlight, because we have Axes, we have the Pure Lake just chilling. All the Kremlings have barely even shown up yet. I'm sorry, why do I keep calling them Kremlings? It's Sleepless.
The Sleepless.
The Sleepless have barely popped up yet. But we know they're going to be super important. I could very much see them being related to the Aethers in some way. Maybe they are Aethers,
or not, or completely not. And that's the thing, because I mean,
they might just be their own.
It also
thing.
feels very native to Roshar because they're little shell
I did
creatures.
read a word of Brandon. I don't think they are native to Roshar. They came from
Interesting.
somewhere else.
They just adapted. They okay.
Over many generations, basically. The hive
Because they
mind-
do talk about that. Yeah, because they keep evolving them so they can make it look more and more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently at some point they used to look like spiders or something like that, and they just gradually evolved into Kremling looking little things.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
There's still, I know there's so many threads and so many things to watch out for already. And then because I don't think there's been any reference or any crossover to Shadows.
I want to know so much more about Taldane. It's
Same.
such an interesting planet. For those of you who aren't aware, it's this planet that
Hellscape.
Ambition used to. A hellscape is a fantastic way of calling it. Yeah. It was gradually progressing technologically, and then at some point, we don't know if it was anywhere near the shattering or if it was more recent. Some sort of just something that they called the evil started creeping over the land, and this whole people had to migrate to a different continent. Who knows if that's going to appear there or not, but even on this other continent, there's these sketchy ghosts that are floating around, making sure you don't bleed around them or anything like that.
Or they'll like enrage and just like instantly consume your soul or whatever.
Yeah, man.
And like they have like wards, right, to keep them back. And
Silver,
like
yeah.
yeah, it's silver wards. Yeah, that's right. It's like that we've done nothing with. AVR, the closest we've.
What was that, Em?
No, go ahead. I have a curious question regarding what you're.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's fine. And then I want to tell you the name of that novella.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So you keep Overwriter had a question about like measuring power and such, and as I listened to you guys talking about the strengths and the weaknesses and the histories, as readers, how do you gauge the strengths and how your characters are going to interact with it? Is there enough there, or is it also just depending on scenarios? I know some of these characters you don't even come across until it's a very specific scenario.
Oh man,
I know
this
that
feels like a death battle
internally,
question.
it really does feel like a death battle question. Internally, he definitely has his own wikis and stuff like that, where he has sort of power levels, where everything is against everything else. Oh yeah, like because a lot of that is going to be
Wow.
Yeah. They have their own internal wikis for like lore and stuff like that, so they can all internally reference it and make sure they're all on the same page. God, what I would pay just for 5 minutes. Even then, there's always another secret. I'm sure there's something right at the top of his head whenever he's on that wiki, like, oh man, this is gonna blow their heads off when I tell them this little tidbit, and this is nowhere even on there. Ugh,
Isn't that the Discworld like motto? There's always another secret or something. No, but here's the thing. It's like, so some stuff we know a lot more about. So like, for example, like a Knight's Radiant or a Mistborn, right? We pretty much have a good idea of what they're capable of, even though we haven't really seen a full Knight's Radiant in action currently in Stormlight. We've seen in the histories and like the flashbacks that Dalinar has had and stuff, like we know pretty much what they're capable of. So like that can be a pretty good comparison contrast. And like I've had a lot of people ask me because they're like, oh, if you did like a fantasy fight, like, you know, because you're a huge fantasy nerd, what would you do? And I'd be like, oh, I would love to put like a full Mistborn against like a full Knight's Radiant.
That would be a fun discussion.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It'd be so cool, right? And like, because that's like basically like physics, and then, you know, one definitely has like a laser sword, but the other one has a lot more control over like other things, like
you could
predicting
technically like
seeing what you're about to do in the future, or like
emotionally influence people to make stupid decisions, things like that. Although the plate armor might help with blocking that out. These are really good discussions.
Yes.
Yeah.
But so that's like, right, that's like, okay, cool. But then when this is something I was talking about earlier, when Shai rewrote her soul to be an Elantrian, like literally her skin changes to white, she starts glowing and floating, and then is like hello mortal, you know, like, because now she is immortal, and like they literally can just draw symbols in the sky, and as long as they have access to the door, stuff happens. Like they're crazy powerful. So like, and we don't even know, we haven't seen like them in like a war.
You know what I mean? Seen Elantris fully active for more than like 5 minutes on page, basically. So in theory, there's like hundreds of years worth of technological progress with this magic system that's based on writing symbols into the air as a magical programming language, essentially, where you can just tell this infinite power, okay, I know this is exactly what I want you to do. And then if they get it right, then it happens. And if not, they just have to fiddle around with it again.
Right. And that's the thing, is like, it's not just like, these are like the 26 runes that are like, it's literally like, you can write your own thing. And the more knowledge you have, which you see in like in Emperor's Soul, right? That's what I think like Shai is doing. She's trying to literally craft this person's soul, and so she's looking like, so it's all these intricate and the way the lines intersect and what they do. And so the more knowledge and understanding and practice that you have of this, you can then theoretically start to see patterns and things and connect things and do things that shouldn't have been done or have never been done before. And all we've ever seen them do is basically like prosper and like heal the sick, feed the needy, like, you know, like, and just like, oh, like I can fly or like I can teleport, you know, like it's like we've only seen it in like practical, like we're an advanced society, modern use, but like the like battle like implications of that magic system is
Could
crazy.
be
If you have somebody with
wild, yeah.
enough understanding, especially because it all has to do with your soul, like. Somebody could like theoretically be like, "Oh, I can unmake a soul. I figured it out. This is the theory of how to unmake a soul." And they literally just be like,
Elantris in general, though, it would take so much more preparation for a battle, though, than, like, say, a Knights Radiant or a Mistborn would, which definitely limits how powerful they are in just, like, moment-to-moment fighting. But together and with, I mean, they have this whole huge city that they've been theoretically preparing for hundreds of years to do whatever they need to. Who knows how far they can go with that, with all that technology. Yeah.
"Oh yeah, it's crazy." And so what led to all this? Oh, so far, we've gone on so many different tangents. But first of all, that book that we were talking about when we mentioned Shadows, the name of that novella is "Shadows for Silence in the Forest of Hell."
Yeah.
Oh my.
I remember reading that and be like,
makes sense. Yeah.
it does, but it's also like,
Reading it the first
What-
time, you're like,
what,
what is
Brandon?
this trying to say exactly? Yeah.
yeah. And
And
so
then
like,
you just gotta
Oh,
read
I
it.
can't wait for you to see one of the secret project titles. You're gonna have that same reaction, and it's gonna be great.
interesting.
Oh,
Can't
yeah.
wait.
Yeah.
So we've never seen anything from there. And if anybody like watching or like in the VOD or whatever, feel free to correct me if you've caught like some little really like minor thing. I just don't.
You're talking
think
about
we've
the
seen anything from
shades
that.
in particular.
Yeah,
Yeah.
any of the shades or like
We don't know
anything
what it
coming
looks
from that
like in
world.
the cognitive realm. We don't know how
Right.
what's his name, Naj, I think, got off that world because he's from Threnody. And he said a few times he can't go back because of various reasons. I think the cognitive realm is like super funky over there for some reason. But that makes sense because there's, again, spooky ghosts floating around, making sure that...
Who would want to go back there?
Yeah, yeah.
And then like Maraise has an AVR, right?
Just magic birds.
Yeah.
Which is fun. They grant various powers. We're not sure all of them yet, or even like more than like 2 or 3, I think. One of them predicts the future or how you die potentially. Yeah.
It shows you your death like
before it happens.
seconds before it happens.
Oh.
So like, yeah, you'll like be walking along and then like suddenly you'll see a shadow version of you get hit by a car and die, and then you know to like stop and turn real quick and not get hit by a car. Like it's that fast, right?
Yeah.
Goodness.
Or you'll see yourself lying by the side of the road with a snake bite or something like that.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I'm probably going to get bitten by a snake if I go that way. Turn around, there
I'll
it
go
is,
the
right
other way.
there. Yep.
And so
It's morbid as all hell.
yeah,
But...
and it gets really interesting too, because then what you get revealed from that whole thing is that it's not just a certain bird that you find, it's actually birds born in a specific location. And so
one
it's like
specific location. They have to eat this magic worm,
Magical-
basically. Yeah,
that's inside this fruit. Yes.
yeah. And that turns them into something that manifests the powers based on what species of bird you
they are.
Yeah,
Yes. So theoretically,
Early
think
bird
about
gets the
that.
early prophecy.
yeah.
Think about the like aviary animals that you could take from all across the Cosmere and take to this place and then have them, or take an egg and then have them be born there and then eat this worm thing, and what powers will they get? That's a whole thing that we don't touch on a lot other than Maraise has an AVR.
I'm curious
Like-
what would happen if, like, I ate one of those worms, or any human being in general. Would
right?
Would it do anything?
I
don't know.
I
Does it
don't-
have to be poultry specifically?
and maybe not, and maybe what's the name of the little mini dragon that Rison has?
Oh God, why am I forgetting this?
I know it's
I
driving me
know,
nuts too.
I know.
When she first was talking about it, because she didn't know how to describe it, she was describing it as like a chicken or something like that. In the very early stages, I was like, oh, does she have an AVR? Like, oh, cool. Like, this is awesome. And then it was like, oh, no, it's a different thing. And it can
A
eat
Larkin.
Stormlight.
Yep.
Larkin. Yes,
Yep,
Larkin.
yep,
Thank
yep,
you.
yep, yep. And they basically eat investiture. That's how they survive.
Right.
Yeah.
But they also have to be born on a very specific island. And it's like, I don't know, whatever. Can we take a Larkin egg or like whatever and take it over and then have it eat the worm? Then what you get? An investiture eating super bird dragon thing.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Is this situational magic?
Kind of, yeah. More or less, it's magic that is based on who consumes the worm or what species consumes the worm.
Consumes the worm.
Yeah.
And then they bond with a person, basically.
And then they choose a person, bond
like
with
reverse
them.
Pokemon.
It's like reverse Pokemon. That's a fantastic way of looking at it. Yeah. Can
You are
they
the ball.
catch many people though? Could they catch them all?
I don't know.
Oh, that's the real question we need in the Cosmere.
Are they immortal or can they die?
No, they
Nobody
can die.
thought.
Yeah.
Nobody thought when they turned into the stream that we were going to analyze the complexities of Six of Dusk.
Yes. No. But that's just what you get on this channel. So random Six of the Dust tangents. Okay, since we're on the subject, have you read the preview chapters for Six of the Dusk 2?
I have not.
It's fun. Yeah. It
Cool.
gives a lot about Cosmere future stuff and like where we're going there.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's only like I think 2 or 3 chapters, something like that. But like a billion different things are referenced. And then it ends with him basically saying, okay, well, to solve this issue, I got to go into the cognitive realm of First of the Sun. And just like ends there.
Cool.
Yeah. It's wild. But
I'm
fun.
guessing that's okay. All right.
It's not one of the
That'll
secret
be-
projects. Don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. This is something he just read a few years ago as like sample chapters.
Yeah,
like,
the
hey,
book's called First of the Sun, right?
Yes. It's
'cause I've
it's
seen
like
that
First of the Sun
around.
Part 2. Yeah. Read those preview chapters. Those are pretty fun.
Okay. We should pulling it all back because
We're
we
gonna
were
pull it
talking
all
about
back.
Twin Soul.
Yeah.
Before
Oh
you
yeah,
move
we were
off the bird,
talking
I
about
need to
Mistborn
know
at one
one
point,
thing.
weren't we?
Can the bird predict its own death?
I don't.
Unclear.
Unclear.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had to know. Go ahead.
We don't get any chapters from the bird's
It hasn't died
perspective.
yet.
Oh, we need the bird's perspective.
We need the bird's perspective. Sanderson, you know what to
Yeah.
do.
More tweets.
You know what to do.
We technically got a whole. I mean, since we were just talking about it, we got a whole chapter from a Larkin's perspective, though. So
Oh.
it's not completely out of the question.
Okay, that's true.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
But anyway,
That's
pulling
what
it all the way back to Twin Soul and us getting a new magic system, everything like that.
Yes.
When he like just went like full golem mode,
Yep.
I legitimately had a moment where I was just like, "Is this a nod to Brent Weeks?"
I can.
I don't know.
see
Have you read the Lightbringer series?
I've talked with my friend about it, and it's on my to-read list for sure. In fact, it might
Absolutely
be
worth reading.
the next one after
Just
Secret
garbage
Project
ending. Just gonna give you a heads up.
one. Dang it! Oh, I hate
worth
that.
reading.
Yeah.
If you have to choose a Brent Weeks series to read, I would read Night Angel first.
Okay. Okay.
Even though it's earlier, probably not quite as well written, but it's still very good. And very satisfying. Yeah, the very, very end, I was like, ugh.
Damn it.
Like
Yeah.
I literally like shook my head in disgust. Anyway, but worth reading. Anyway, so in the magic system of that is people shoot Luxin out of their fingertips. It's weird. But one of the characters
My buddy
can like
was describing it, and it sounds a kind of a lot like how there's various different kinds of light in Stormlight.
yes. Yeah.
And it can do various different things on that.
Yeah, so basically like you like the hue of a color, it's like very like Stormlight meets Warbreaker kind of.
Okay.
And so like yeah, like you could like suck the like light color out of your thing and use it to power if you have the ability to do that. So like green Luxin is like rubbery. Anyway, whatever. Long story short, a guy like makes himself a giant like rubber like golem thing that's green and just goes smashing around, and then I was just like, oh, that felt like a very Lightbringer nod when Twin Soul just like meditated himself into a golem and then just like kicks some ass.
Because he does. It's awesome. It's a great part of the book. He basically just sticks his hand in a giant jar of magic, and says, "Don't worry, guys. I got this." Yeah. And turns into this huge like crystalline golem, like and he goes ham. He goes.
I love
at
that
it.
he's just like, you have a chance to leave. Like, I am required to give you this chance to spare your lives.
My Aether
Like,
says I require you to understand what you're getting into before you face me, essentially. It's
Yep.
very like Miranda rights, but like cosmic Miranda rights.
yeah, exactly. Very well, you have been warned, and the battle contract is accepted, or whatever.
Yes,
And then he just
yes.
like just starts tearing through.
So cool.
And then,
I'm very excited to see where the Aethers go from here.
oh, absolutely, I'm gonna be on the lookout for that.
'Cause
And now
that's-
I'm also like, after that happened, I was like, oh man, do I have to like reread all of Stormlight again to look for like any like mention of red crystals?
There is
did I-
one Aether reference, and it's from Mraize, actually. Because
Oh, really?
it's just from one of the random interludes, and some lady is scrubbing this one of his jackets or something like that. She hands it back to him. She's like, "Yeah, that was really hard, but I somehow got it out." And he's like, "I'm very impressed. That was Aether that you just washed out of my jacket." And she's like,
Interesting.
"I don't know what you're talking about. This is weird. Can I just go home now?" But yeah. So that would probably be Twin Soul that he was washing out of the jacket, or she was washing
Yeah.
out of Mraize's jacket.
Yeah, I mean, especially we know that there is that connection between Scadrial and Roshar, connected like to the Ghostbloods directly, especially because the one dude, I forget his name, mask guy, his sister
Yeah.
is Yvetal, or however you say her name, who is the Bapsk of Mraize.
Mraize, yeah.
Yeah.
She's like Southern Scadrian descent, but she's from Silverlight. It's very confusing. How did they get to Silverlight, frankly?
Well, and that's what was really weird
Yeah.
to me. I was like, because when I was first reading about them, I was like, oh, it's Southern Scadrial, right? Like, no question.
Yeah.
But they're from Silverlight, and they have Silverlight accents, and their masks are like fused to their face.
Wait, okay, let's think about this for a second, though, because Southern Scadrian culture, as we know it with the masks and stuff, developed after the Catacondra.
Right.
She's on Roshar before Lost Metal happens, right?
Right.
Or really Bands of Mourning, any of Second Era. So at some point, the Southern Scadrians had to have found a way to get into the cognitive realm. How would they have done that? There had to be some sort of perpendicularity down south that we just don't know about yet.
Right.
Weird. Where
It's
is
very
that?
weird.
Now I want to know. Yeah.
And I mean, but is it also tied into how did Kelsier get spiked? Right? So like we know that he went off with Spook and was like, we're gonna find a way to bring me back to life, right? And you're like, okay.
Did you get Rick and Morty vibes from that?
Oh yeah, yeah. Like,
Ah, come on, Morty. We're gonna find a way to give me a body back.
like, okay, man, I guess we'll do it. Like, we'll figure it out.
I don't know about this, Kelsier.
Yeah, I don't know about this Kelsier.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we know that because of the investiture that he held, he was able to be like, no, beyond peace. And then he was like, I gotta find a way to like to when that runs out or whatever, like to keep me here. And so we know that he spiked himself
Yeah.
to which we had all theorized about this, but now it was fully confirmed, said straight up in the Lost Metal that the spike is pinning his soul to his bones.
Yes.
Right. And so somehow that happened. And we also know that then when he then was able to, which I think that is what allowed him to step from the cognitive realm into the physical realm as a cognitive shadow. And that is then when he was like having all the Southerners like worship him, and they talked about, like he had the spike. And I'm just like, what the hell happened? Like in between that, like how did he spike himself if he was fully in the cognitive realm?
Something happened here. We have no idea what. He was in the cognitive realm. A spike somehow played into something, They got his bones. They mashed them together somehow. And now all of a sudden he's in the physical realm. And we haven't even talked about this yet. He has no powers, but he's telling everyone,
Right.
specifically the people that he says he keeps no secrets from. He's telling everyone that he does still have his Mistborn powers, which we definitely see from his viewpoint. He does not.
Right.
Something so weird is going on here. And I think that's what, because like in Stormlight we see he's looking for a solution for something. I think he's looking for a way to get like an actual body back.
Or yeah, like
or some way to anchor the spike to like a physical body. Is he even like fully manifesting in the physical realm though, is my question? Or
yes,
is it...
because yeah, absolutely. Because look at Xyle, look at Vasher.
Well, yeah,
Vasher's also a cognitive shadow.
He's a cognitive shadow, but he was basically a cognitive shadow stapled back onto his body right after he died by endowment, right? Kind of like how Seth was when he technically died at the end of Words of Radiance. And then Nail revived him. It's this cognitive entity put back onto the body of a human being. But by the time Kelsier is like there, his bones are, there's no like flesh or anything left. It's just bones in theory.
Well, how many years from when Kelsier died to the Cassandra?
I think it's at least one. Maybe if he was like well preserved or something like. No, because the Khandra ate all of his flesh and turned it just into bones.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Would it? Did he like hijack a Khandra or something?
Khandra? Like yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Maybe.
Dude, yeah, that might have been what happened. He's using that spike inside of a Khandra somehow to create the physical body. But Khandra can't have allomantic abilities, which is why he can't currently. I think that's what's happening.
Okay, another question.
I'm calling it. Yeah. No,
it's entirely possible, but do we actually know that he currently looks like Kelsier?
That's another great question. We have no idea.
Nobody who has run into him since he's been back.
I'm going to see if there's a word of Brandon on this.
Does he currently have flesh?
Yes.
Okay.
He is a person. He just has a spike through his eye. Do they mention, does he have scars? Does he have the scars?
I think he has the scars. I know, he's got to have the scars. Yeah.
Well, I know that like Hoyd was like, tell the scarred one to like F off out of my business, right? But I don't know if that means he currently has the scars or if that's just, he's just referencing him from the past because we know that Hoyd met him in the cognitive realm. So I don't know. And especially like, here's the thing that I also found really odd now that I think about this. When Marasi sees him in the Ghostblood hangout, she talks about the spike through his eye and how he's like this larger than life. Here's the person who survived. And she does not mention the scars. And that is something that like every time
that he's mentioned, it's brought
previously, it's like we talk about the scars. You notice the scars on his arms. Or like,
did he just jack someone's body?
He might have just jacked somebody's body.
That's very possible. Yeah.
Hey,
he's got his bones stashed away somewhere, but in the meantime, he just like took some dead dude, and he's like, you're gonna do.
Yeah, it could be a Khandra, could be a random person. Also, whatever happened to Spook?
That's another huge question because he kind of just disappeared one day.
Kind of just absolutely disappeared. And here's the other part too. When Marsh, which this is a great transition to us talking about Marsh is talking about how like he was just gonna let himself die finally. Which, for the love of God, like, can we let Marsh just go into the beyond? I love Marsh, but like
that dude, guy is so done, and he just kept getting strung along first by Ruin, and then Harmony's like, "Oh, I still have a little bit of work for you to do."
And he's like, fine, I have a lot to atone for.
And then it's like, and like, I only have a little bit of ATM left. This isn't going to last too long. I can do it for another 300 years. And then they find more ATM, and he's like, oh God, when will this end? Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Marsh,
yeah,
there's
and
a
so
lot going on there. Yeah.
yeah, where was I going with that before we got distracted?
Well, I
I was talking
know
about
Marsh is going to be like apparently like Iron Eyes as a concept is like appearing on other worlds now. We don't know if that's Harmony's doing or if it's just spreading naturally by
yeah,
people
yeah,
like talking about him and making that a concept elsewhere. Could you see him becoming some sort of like personification of death, and would this fit in with Discord in a way?
maybe. Yeah, potentially, because like, I mean, he mentions that Harmony imbues him
Yeah.
with power so that he can kind of like be there to be like, sup, you're dead,
Yep.
peace off, to the beyond.
Harmony's busy and he's like,
Yeah.
Marsh, you got this one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right, exactly. Like it's because there's debate too, like on if he's a sliver or not, and it's like how that all works. I'm just sorry, I'm racking my brain now because we're talking about Kelsier and his whole thing, and then I brought up Marsh, and then we got off on a tangent about poor Marsh and what he's gone through. But like, why did I bring that up initially? Because I had a point.
Something about spiking and how that plays into God, chat, what were we talking about?
Someone help me.
Cognitive shadows in some way, putting it into a spike, putting it into another person.
We're talking about the different realms as well.
Talking about the different realms as
This is
well.
driving me nuts.
Maybe
I literally had like a point to make.
You were saying Marsh appears to other people. Maybe it's like how he's manifesting in the cognitive realm somehow while also being in the physical? Or maybe he just hops between using a perpendicularity. Who knows?
Oh, I remember. No, I remember. We're
Yay.
good. Thank you. I backtracked on the YouTube video real quick because
Yes.
there's a point here. And this was important that I really wanted to talk about. It was us talking about what happened to Spook, and so Marsh mentions that he doesn't want to die because there's three of us and there are three pillars, and what happens if one of us falls or whatever? And I was like, I bet this is me being like Sanderson, I bet Sanderson wants you to think that is Kelsier, Marsh, and Sazed. But what if it's not Sazed?
It could very well be Spook.
What if Sazed doesn't count because he's a shard? And what if it's instead? What if Spook is here and working behind the scenes? Or what if Kelsier spiked himself to Spook?
I could see. I would argue that's probably not the case, just
Probably not the
because I would think that would give him more ability to be like a Mistborn, right? That might unlock certain things by using that certain body. I don't know though, now that I'm thinking about it, because that's part of your spirit web, which in theory should come with you when you get spiked, because that's his soul. That's, I don't know what's happening here.
Me neither. There's so much. But I was like, that was one of my thoughts when he was like, "Oh, it's the three different legs," and I was just like, "That it wouldn't make sense if it's Sazed as a shard, because like, where's he going? You know what I mean? Like, and he's talking about dying.
Yeah,
and like, and it's like Kelsier's back, and he was specifically referencing like Kel, and then but then himself, and I'm like, oh my god, what if it is Spook? Like, because we don't know anything. Literally, his last reference legitimately was like,
he just kind of disappeared one day.
Yeah, it was just like, we're gonna go find a way to bring me back to life. And then there's references to like the things that he had founded or whatever, and like I think like book 1 of Era 2. Yeah,
there's a little bit sprinkled throughout Era 2 with Spook, but basically like he, as far as I'm aware, what happened is he lived an abnormally long life, and then one day he was just kind of gone. So either he went to help Kelsier in the south or something like that, or something else super weird is going on. Maybe he felt like he should spread the Mistborn line in the south more, or something like that. I don't know.
Oh, well, that's a perfect transition.
Did he create... Was he partially responsible for creating Bands of Mourning? Because he was a Mistborn. And that's all the... Wait, is that all Mistborn and all ferrochemical powers in Bands of Mourning? Or is it just...
Well, yeah, but the Bands of Mourning are specifically the Lord Ruler's bands, right?
You're set up to think that, but it was Kelsier that made them.
Oh, that's right.
Because yeah, like throughout it, it keeps saying the Lord Ruler, and then like at the end, it's the Sovereign, which is Kelsier. We
Right.
find out.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe somehow Spook was responsible for sacrificing his life to make this ultra powerful weapon or something like that. I don't know.
I don't know.
That's wild. At some point, a ridiculous amount of investiture was pumped into that thing, though.
Which are now gone. Sorry.
Yeah. Should we talk about that for a sec?
What a scene. I was like,
What a
come on.
scene.
Like,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Either A, the guy from the south is doing something sketchy, and he just wants people to think that the bands of mourning are completely drained, because one way or another they're completely drained. Or B, Harmony and the Khandra somehow sucked all of that investiture out of there, either to use for their own purposes or to create some sort of rift between the North and the South, which would play into what we were talking about earlier with Discord. It's setting them up for war with each other. I think we could both agree there's going to be some sort of conflict there between the North and the South in Era 3.
oh yeah, and not if Marcy has anything to do with it, or say about it, but we'll see.
Yeah.
No, I don't know, like, because there was that very specific line that was just like, he's reading this as if it were rehearsed,
Yeah.
right? Like, or he's saying this as if it were rehearsed, like, oh, the bands have been drained, so therefore you attempted to use them, this counts, we get them back, and it was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then there's a second nod in the epilogue, because then Wax was thinking about it and how they were now like a point or blah, and he was like, that seemed really suspicious. So it's like 2 times it's referenced that like
I don't know
something
if I
fishy is
caught
going
that
on.
second reference. Yeah. I'm going to have to go
Like it was in
back
the
and
epilogue with
reread that.
Wax. Yeah. So
I was still
when he's-
Kelsier was still bouncing around in my head there when
oh yeah, of course,
yeah.
dude. Yeah, so the final epilogue with Wax, when he's talking about how like Marcy is gonna be going off, like, hey, you're gonna be the perfect ambassador, like, because you have a Malwish partner. Oh no! I didn't plug in my camera.
No.
Hold on.
We
Oh, I was just-
exhausted Chad's battery. Oh no.
We're gonna give me 1 second.
Chad.
This is just like in real life. Sometimes you need to recharge. Remember to hydrate, stretch, watch your posture. If you haven't moved for a while.
I can't believe I didn't plug it in. I was too amped to talk about Cosmere stuff.
There you go. Yeah. Everyone stretch break. We'll get Chad
Here, hold
back
on.
in a bit. He's currently
I plugged it in.
loading.
I gotta turn it off.
Sometimes when your signal is low, you
Hey,
just need.
This is even
friends.
better
Sorry, hang
since Emily is our little mental health spren. Or
Enjoy this.
spren and mental health spren are really just one and the same. I really enjoyed that Zoom. Yeah, no, that was
Yes.
amazing.
Let's call it a critical focus.
Behind the eyes.
Yeah, anyway. Yeah, so Wax is telling Marcy basically, like, hey, you're going to be, like, a great ambassador, like, because you've got a Malwish partner, you're just what we need. And he's thinking about, like, the bands of mourning and how, like, they basically just, like, going through the conflicts and, like, how they've shut down trade. And it's because, like, and one of the things that, like, they see that, like, the Basin's frustrated because they're like, hey, you shouldn't have taken the bands because we didn't use them, and then them being like, you even trying to use the bands was an act of aggression, and then Wax is like, he thinks the whole thing is suspicious that they were drained or whatever. So it's referenced twice, once by the Steris in the room, and then by Wax later. And so I'm like, he's very much being like, something's happening. So whether they used like some of their technology to like drain the band's energy as soon as they entered the room, which I could see happening.
I've
like
heard theories that like someone was using some sort of like allomantic technology to just block access to the actual power that's there.
that's what I was thinking, like some
Just
sort of like
making-
aluminum type thing, right?
Yeah.
You know?
Did I say allomantic? I think I meant aluminum.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
It still works. It's the same thing, but yeah, I get it.
Yeah, technically that is.
But yeah, so we'll see with that. But I mean, those are another crazy powerful artifact, and if those actually get charged up again or are still charged, it was a trick. The fact that that's in play in the Cosmere that's a whole another level of near immortality and insanity. It's like when Nightblood shows up somewhere, and you're like, oh, what?
Oh no, why are you here?
Oh, why are you here?
Who invited
In that
this
person's
guy?
hand?
Yeah.
Oh god. Yeah, like-
Okay. I have a question for you we haven't talked about quite yet.
what's up?
Autonomy. How do you think autonomy is going to play into not only Scadrial, but like the Cosmere in general? Because we saw a lot of him, more than I think we've ever gotten before of autonomy in this book.
Oh, absolutely. I think just in the nature of autonomy, like Scadrial's bought some time.
Yeah.
But the question is like, how much of a time jump are we gonna get if we get another era? You know, so it's like, I don't know. I honestly think autonomy is gonna focus on something else. And like my initial gut when I was like reading all this stuff is like, and especially knowing that like where Odium's at with Teravangian,
Yeah.
I could see a conversation happening between those two.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there was a lot of stuff in this book in particular that seemed to be hinting that the vessel of autonomy and our audio is back.
Hold on just a second.
Yeah. Are we talking about Crackle?
Chad, can you talk for me, please?
Yes, happy to talk. It's probably crackling again. We're gonna have to restart.
Yep. All right. Go ahead and give us a little restart there, Lore.
And we're back again.
All right.
In theory, we should be back up with full audio.
And we will just test really quick.
And we're just going to test it really quick. Yeah. Sounds good again. Thank you, Zeal. I appreciate it. God, where did we leave off? Autonomy, I think.
Autonomy.
Yeah.
And talking about him talking with Odium.
Yeah.
And then you were bringing up the like avatars of
Yes.
autonomy.
It seems to me the vessel of autonomy currently is also having a little bit of a hard time controlling it, because there's a lot of references in Lost Metal of like autonomy as a shard really, really, really likes you stepping up and becoming this being, whether or not that's part of her plan or not. Whereas the vessel seems to be like, no, I want full control over all of this ultimately. And these little sections might slowly start maybe breaking off of her control or assuming more of their own dominance.
Yeah. So I think the line was like, but what it really means is as long as you're stepping up and making your own way, as long as it fits into her plan.
Yeah.
I think was the line, something along those lines. And it's like, haha, okay.
That could very well be a thing. Yeah. Either way, autonomy is going to be huge in the future. I think she's setting up as many little small pockets of resistance, maybe? I don't know. It's setting up her own little army of planets. Yeah.
Speaking of army, what was the army that autonomy was trying to send over? I felt like I should have got that reference. It felt familiar. The soldiers of like red and gold or whatever. Like,
I was immediately reminded of like Lifeless from
same. Absolutely same.
Yeah, from Nalthus. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That was my absolute first thought, and I was like, does autonomy have Lifeless?
Right?
What?
In theory, it's like kind of the opposite of a cognitive shadow, right? Because it's, instead of this idea of a person being stapled onto some random body, it's a random body that's being then brought to life without any sort of like
giving cognition.
Exactly. Who knows what's going on there? I think we'll probably be seeing more of them hopefully in the near future, but it seemed like just a huge tease to be like, there's armies out there, and autonomy's in absolute control over them.
I love that you're on the exact same page. Like, I also thought it was Lifeless, and I was just like, oh man. I know we have Nightblood dangling, that book dangling over us. Like, gimme. I've wanted that forever because Warbreaker is one of my absolute favorite Cosmere books. And then on top of that, like, with I Want to Know, there has to be so many answers in that book.
Yeah.
Because it was stated that that's going to explain how Nightblood
gonna
got
have
to
to
where
be.
it is. So there's going to have to be a lot of good stuff for the Cosmere. And then it's like, well, then what happens
Yeah.
to Nalthis? What happens, like...
Quick
and,
prediction. I think what's going to happen in Nightblood is it's going to be half flashbacks to like when Nightblood was being born, and half
1,000%.
yeah, other things happening, because like one of the other 5 scholars is still just kind of out there farting around on Nalthis doing whatever. He's barely even mentioned in the book, except he's in control of some foreign land or something like that. I think. I can't quite remember. You've probably read Warbreaker more times than I have.
Yeah, I don't remember. Well, I don't even know if they said that technically the person is on Nalthis. They might just be out there. I'd have to look into it. And this was something you just reminded me of, something I wanted to like dig into, but I might be like totally wrong. So please like tell me if I'm not. You know all those chapters where there's like the couple in a shack in Stormlight that are like experimenting with Spren?
I totally remember that. Just one of the random interludes. Yeah.
Are those people?
I think they're just random Ardents. Because especially at the beginning of Stormlight Archive, he really wanted the interlude chapters to just be like, I'm just going to take a little bit and explore some random part of
because
the world. Did
one
it
of my
seem like something was
thoughts-
going on with them? It's been a while since I read it.
One of my thoughts was like, is one of these people the scholars, one of the scholars from Nalthis?
That could
Like that
very
has
well
made
be.
their way up, that is now like, because it's also like it's like studying like the nature of Spren and like how they react, and that's always just stuck with me, and I'm like, there's something going on with these people, and I just like, I want to know. It seems like they weren't of world, the way that they were studying Spren. It seemed that they were off-worlders, like trying to like figure out, whoa, look at these things like that are all around. I did like, and it's like, let's see what's happening and how this
Was
works.
it Chris and Nosh? Now that I'm thinking about it,
I'm wondering if it was Chris. I am wondering if it was Chris.
That's very
Is that
possible.
horror lab scene that you mentioned in Mysteries or Secret Societies?
What?
You mentioned a
Oh,
horrific...
you're thinking about Ishar and his devious tent full of horrors that we see at the end of Rhythm of War. That's completely different. So
Gotcha.
he was studying Spren in some regards, but it's completely different than what these Ardents were doing. This was far more less destructive, let's say.
Yeah, let's say less gruesome.
Yeah, less gruesome.
This is like, how do they react with a flame, and like, it's like, yeah.
Although it could be
man.
argued you're literally enslaving the Spren, so maybe it is to Spren a comparable thing, but who knows? I really hope we're gonna get some answers to what Ishar was doing soon. God, I'd love to just talk about that for the next hour, but let's meander back over to Mistborn. I think that's a fantastic segue to talk about what you think the future of Scadrial is going to be in the Cosmere as a whole. Where could you see it going? How do you think it's going to interact with all the other planets that are at least threatening its existence, I'd say?
I know what I want to happen.
Mm-hmm. Shoot.
That's what it's gonna sound so bad.
Oh,
I
now
want,
I'm even more excited.
I want
Yeah.
like apocalyptic scenario to happen, so that technology resets and it does not bleed its way everywhere into the Cosmere, because I've already told you like how I like my fantasy.
Oh, I was
like,
about this at first, but now you've lost me. Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't want Kaladin running around with a gun. All right, like, okay.
Who gave the Windrunner a gun? Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Like, I don't know. Like, that's what I'm worried about too, because like that's the whole thing, is like talking about their advancements in technology and what they've been doing, and like how they can be a powerhouse and be a very like great asset to a lot of things. Like, and we already know that like the trade routes are kind of set up through the Ghost Bloods, and I'm just like, I don't want that. Like, I don't want guns in my Stormlight.
I'm gonna go
So this is
ahead
just a very selfish reason.
and completely disagree because I think Scadrial is being set up to be very much what you don't want to see, which
know.
is that technological progression along sort of the same lines as Earth. Where I think it gets interesting is Roshar, because it's this technological progression using completely, I almost want to say like organic means towards that technological end as opposed to the more mechanical ones that Scadrial is using. So I think he's going to kind of compare and contrast that, and that's going to be a big part of the conflict in and of itself. They're not really going to understand each other's technology, how it works, but they're going to be, arms racing to some end. We'll see what that is.
I know.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that that's where it's going to go. I was telling you my very selfish reason.
You want a full reset.
I do.
Yeah.
I want to like go back. I want
that's-
Allomancy, focused on Allomancy. Like the gun part was cool because like the way you can use like ferrochemy and Allomancy to like, influence bullets and do that kind of stuff. But it's also like we're getting really close to like Wanted and like Angelina Jolie being like, watch me curve this bullet. Like, and I'm just like, I don't want to go down that route.
I could see that.
And
yeah, I could see
Could
why you
an
would not
aluminum
like that.
bullet pierce shard plate? Probably.
But do we want to answer that question? Is
No!
what you're saying? Yeah.
No,
You don't want to have to answer that
it.
question.
No.
Okay.
I don't want a Gatling gun. It's like, oh, finally, we've set all the ideals. Let's go, and then just like, and just all the Knights Radiant just mowed down.
I think that will happen, but with Spren. It's just going to be firing wind Spren at people.
Just
yeah. Whee! Yeah, it's just whizzing by. Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
Kaladin with a gun is my new band name, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe album title, we'll say. Yeah.
No, that just needs to be your new channel art. It's just Kaladin, but he's just like
with Kaladin
like,
plus gun.
Yeah.
Caligun?
Equals American flag. Oh, amazing.
Oh god.
Okay. So Scadrial
What's your-
is going to completely
What's
reset.
Still in Weston.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Well,
Sorry.
Syl would be just the most, the happiest gun, I think.
Oh yeah.
Happiest little
That's the
gun.
thing. How
Yeah.
much? Yeah. Do they get to? Do they then like study guns and then can turn into complex machinery? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they've said that they can. It's only simple tools, but still.
Maybe. I don't know, man. Oh man.
When you unholster it, does it yell at you?
Yes.
If it's still absolutely.
You left me in there for so long. I am divinity. Excuse
Yeah.
me. Yeah. I think Syl is Emily. I'm pretty sure Syl is based on Emily in some sort of way, shape, or form.
Just as with Brandon Sanderson's Excel sheets, he'll never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a question for you, Chan.
What's up?
What was Milan doing at the end?
Dude, I want to know so bad.
Yeah.
I re-listened to it tonight.
Yeah.
Because I was like, what is it?
Yeah.
What is it? I was like, red-haired people. Okay.
So
Is
it's
she
probably Veden or Veden? I don't
Is
know
it
if I ever
Vaden?
said that. Yeah.
Is it Vaden or
Yeah.
Rocks people?
Oh, Horn Eaters.
Also,
yeah.
Horn Eaters have
Oh, hello.
red hair.
Thanks
A
for
lot of them do.
subscribing, Overrider.
It worked.
It worked. Yay.
it work,
Um,
right? Like traditionally, but like
I could very much see it being Horn Eaters. The issue is that this is like halfway in between Stormlight Eras 1 and 2, which does not speak very well for things going well at the end of Stormlight 5. I'm scared. Poor Horn Eaters, poor Rosharans in general. What is going on over there? They have a lot to answer for.
Well, they did kind of invade.
To kind of invade. That's very true. Yeah. That's true. The Alethi are constantly just making war, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know, but it was, man, and they just had to jerk our heart one more time with Milan and Wayne.
Yeah, man. They really
I
did.
loved them
Yeah.
together so much. Also,
It worked so
such
well.
a great Wayne moment. And he's just like, before you go to the Beyond, you can ask me any question. He's like, all right. When Milan said that I was the greatest, he's just like, really? That's what you want to know? Fine. It's like,
Was I the best
yeah.
at banging kind of your daughter?
Yeah,
And Sazed is like, really? That's what you ask? Like
Yeah,
at the end of your life, that's what you want to know. And he's like, yeah, sure. That's very much Wayne in a nutshell.
and then,
And
and then
it's
instead,
Wayne in general is like how Sanderson kind of undercuts these more poignant moments, which some people quite enjoy, and other people I get why they find it annoying because
yeah, but I mean, you get it with what, 2 characters? Like you
It's
get it with
Wayne
Wayne,
and Lift.
you get it and Lopin.
Oh, and Lopin as well. Yeah.
Lift will as well. You're right, Lift.
Yeah.
So 3, and it's like Shalon occasionally, but that's coping, or just her being witty and fun.
Yeah.
But the main comic relief characters are like those 3, and I would say Lopin even more than Lift.
I'd agree with that. I don't think I've gone on my Lyft rant with you yet. I think a lot of people don't like Lyft, but I think
like Lyft.
a lot of people don't understand that Lyft is like, if you gave magic powers to some like 11-year-old headstrong girl that just wants to do whatever she wants and probably wants to eat all your food, this is exactly what would happen.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I loved Lift
I
and like
quite
all of her
enjoy
chapters. I
Lift,
will say,
yeah.
in Rhythm, I started to be like kind of like not as enthralled because it was the like
really?
I hate my it was just like I hate my body. It's bigger now, and it's like I get it. Like we're telling you like people getting used to their body and changing and puberty and like all that stuff, and it's like I like being small, and they just kept like recurring. It's like like I get it. You're having your insecure moment, but also it's like you're Lift, and also like if I had to choose like powers. Like I was a skater kid. Of course, it'd be an edge dancer, dude. Are you kidding me?
That
Like,
makes sense. Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I could see that.
hell yeah! Like I'd be sliding all over everything. Let's go.
Emily, have I made you take the Knights Radiant quiz yet?
I can't remember. I don't think. Wait, wasn't there a night that we were all talking about it?
I said
And then-
you would be Yasna.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
1000%.
Yeah. And I think you did end up getting Else Callers as the
I was just
order.
about to say that's Else color. Yeah, that's exactly what I was
Oh,
gonna. Yep.
yes. Okay. Yeah, I remember you guys were not surprised at the outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah. I could
very
very
funny.
much see that. It being Emily. It's like kind of seeking. Else Caller's whole thing is seeking the best version of yourself, essentially. Windrunners are like
And knowledge.
protecting people and knowledge, bettering yourself through knowledge. Yeah,
I
Stuff
like that.
Yeah, it's very you. You're an edge dancer, Chad.
The problem is if I took the test, I know it's gonna give me a Windrunner, but like I would prefer to be.
You'd
an edge
prefer to be edge dancer. Okay.
I mean, flying would be cool, but it's just like, come on, dude. Like, I could skate on anything at any time. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I knew
and
I
then
was
heal,
either-
and then heal from it,
and then heal. Yeah,
or heal others.
exactly. And heal other people. If you're at the skate park, you can be like, you know what,
Exactly.
guys? Just don't wear
Check this
helmets.
out.
Don't wear pads today.
Who cares?
I got you on this one. Yeah. It's gonna
no.
hurt, but just hold on tight. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always said I would either be Windrunner or Lightweaver, probably lean towards Lightweaver. And I took the quiz. What do you know? Lightweaver at the very top, very closely followed by Windrunner. Windrunners are very much the big brother Knight Radiant order.
I get it.
Yeah.
I know. Like I don't even have to take the quiz. I tell you, because like every one of these type of quizzes, like that's like it's like Gryffindor or like the American Firebird or whatever. Like I get like I'm always that thing. So it's like, all right.
Yep. Yep. It's fun. Well, okay, since we're on the subject, if you could have any allomantic power, what would it be? Steel pushing, I'm guessing?
Mistborn.
Cheat codes, you're not allowed to do that, Chad. I'll let it slide this once.
Yeah, I mean, steel pushing would be just way too cool. Like getting to hop around and and I know that's like almost everyone's answer, unless you're like really devious. I feel like if if friend Will, if I give that, he would be a rioter for sure.
I could 100% see that. Yeah. I really want to see more uses for like some of the weirder ones, like gold and stuff like that. It doesn't really do anything ultimately.
But self-reflection?
Well, it's self-reflection, but it's like, frankly, I thought the first time I read Shadows of Self, I was waiting for gold to play a bigger role. I don't think it was even mentioned once.
That's a good point.
Because it's like...
you're like, that's what it does!
Yeah. Isn't that what it's supposed to be? But no, it's very much just Wax's own internal journey, the Shadow of Self in that regard. Yeah. I'm not bitter.
ATM would
metal,
also be
by
cool,
the way.
So
amazing.
I would want metal.
There you go. I've wanted to get a harmonium one for a while.
Wait,
I'm gonna wait to see what happens in Era 3 though. You have a few more on your other arm too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So the
Bridge 4.
Yeah, we got Bridge 4. And then this is the newest one, but that's not Cosmere related. But
Emily, you know what that is?
I don't, Kyle. Wait, are you talking about Bridge 4 or?
It's two things. No,
it's two things.
That
I'm seeing the broken blade.
Oh, the sword that once was broken. Yeah.
Which goes into
and the elven.
The White Tree of Gondor.
White Tree of Gondor. Thank you. Yeah. Which was gifted by the elves, right? That was still.
Originally, it was like part of the one of the two main trees from that universe because they're. God, it's been so long since I've studied Lord of the Rings lore. Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. I've gone way too deep into Sanderson since then to remember like the deep stuff. But mainly this because like there's not like a lot of great symbolism in The Hobbit other than like mountains or the dragon or the ring. Yeah. Like that's basically it. And I was just like, but like I wanted something to me that represents The Hobbit, which is like my gateway into fantasy and like that led into all this stuff. But I also wanted it to look cool. So that I was like, well, this will work. That'll work. So this to me is like my representation of The Hobbit more than anything.
I like and it's that. Very much it's also always a journey.
I don't like to add a little bit of symbolism there too. It's like the Hobbit kind of blossoming from the Lord of the Rings symbol there, the broken blade, I guess. Yeah.
That's true. There's that huge family legacy and history in general that we enjoy from those series.
Yeah.
For sure.
Two of the most interesting things, it was all very interesting, but of course, some of it was a little over my head. But I really liked your guys' theories and speculations on the shards and how time in different realms and things like that could affect them. I find that very engaging. You guys should dive deep into that sometime.
Okay.
I could go on forever.
We could go on forever. What's your favorite shard? If you could see more of any one shard, who would it be? Because we know like 15. We know about 14 right now.
I want cultivation to do something.
Yes. I'd like to see her actually do something.
Does 14 include those that have changed?
14, 15 with harmony.
Gotcha.
Which is technically supplants two of the shards. So
I will say that, like
two of them combined into harmony. That's ruin and preservation.
I mean, like without a doubt, like it's a little different. Like we got more on it now, but I mean, like I loved Sazed so much as a character, and because I went through so much of a journey with Sazed, like it has to be harmony. You know what I mean? Like, but that's like not fair because it's like he was a pivotal character in a book series that then became, so it's like. So aside from like Taravangian, like he's the shard we got to know the most. And I love Sazed, and he went through so much, which is also why I'm so upset that he's still gonna have to go through some stuff. Is what it seems like, because it's like he went through like, come on, the dude was castrated, enslaved, lost the love of his life, and then like had to become God, to take care of everyone and continue, which is so Terrace, and it's just like, let the dude chill.
I thought in the Lost Metal it was super interesting too, because Wax at one point was like, he's ascending the tower, and he says to Harmony, because he has the earring in, he's like, okay, I'm gonna do this, but this is the last thing I'm gonna do for you. You know, you don't know what you're asking me to do. And then Sazed literally sends him this vision. I think all it says is a man weeping inside of Burnt City or something like that. And it's Sazed after the battle at the end of Well of Ascension, where the love of his life died. Like half of Kelsier's crew died. And Wax doesn't understand what he's seeing, but it's very much like Sazed.
Oh, but we do.
Yeah, I know what you're going through. I know what I'm asking of you. And dude, chill. Like, I've had to go through some stuff. Okay.
Yeah, dude. I had like blocked that. I had a moment when that sent to me. I was like, oh god. You know, I was like, oh Christ.
I got sand in my eye. Is there a sand bender around somewhere?
Yeah, sand mastery.
I know you guys are headed towards your final scores, but I also just want to mention how terrifying Hoyd seems in every description you guys have given.
Oh, Hoyd's awesome. Well, first of all,
I don't understand how he is alive.
Kyle needs to answer on his favorite shard.
So it's gonna be one that we haven't seen anything from. It's Invention.
Okay.
I'm so curious. Like, someone actually mentioned on my channel the other day, something about, like maybe he has like just his own son or something like that. And I'm starting to think like, what if he has like some sort of weird Dyson sphere-esque thing going on, like and I can't stop thinking about it because like, Sanderson has thought at some point, okay, how would I make a Dyson sphere in this universe?
Yeah, right.
And it would be with Invention. That's my own pet theory I've been working on.
I love it. Your favorite shard is one that you've made up the lore to.
Exactly. Yeah.
Perfect.
100%.
You've invented your own lore, so perfect. It all ties together.
Exactly. But in all actuality, I do think that that's going to be one of the ones that I'm most excited to learn more about as we learn more about the shards that we don't really know much about right now.
Now you got me going, right?
Yeah,
okay, so here's the thing. So it was specifically stated that, again, we've mentioned this multiple times, the reason Autonomy was coming after Scadrial was because of their technological prowess, but it was that not that it was too advanced, was that they were coming up on, or like getting too far, not like basically dealing with where she was at, or whatever she's in control was at, right? But what if Invention is involved in this, right? Because like, think about this. If you have a shard that's going after Scadrial specifically because like, you're the next closest.
Yeah.
There's no way that Invention wouldn't be involved with the one that's the pinnacle, because it's literally Invention.
Yeah. What have they been doing? That's why I think.
What if those red and gold warriors are all clockwork warriors that are like, that are made by Invention? See,
Dude, no, that could very well be a thing. Yeah. I could totally see that being a thing. Just like these mechanical, like robot people, basically, that you've shoved a bunch of magic into. You're working with Autonomy for whatever goals. I don't know. Now you got me thinking.
Or an autonomous robot.
Amazing.
But
You've
also,
cracked the code.
the only thing I will say that does disprove this a little bit is that when Marisi dropped the Allomantic grenade in there to shut the portal, she got the impression of like shock or surprise. Now that could be from like whatever was controlling them potentially, right? But it did seem like it might have been from that army. So, but then again, who knows? Like, we've brought swords to life. So maybe, who knows, right? But I'm just saying.
Who knows? Yeah.
Totally possible.
definitely totally possible. I could very much see that being a thing now. Yeah. Yeah. And if not, then like, what are they doing? Because you'd think we would have seen like huge technological leaps in progress from invention. Like you'd think they'd be everywhere, right?
Yeah, or at the very least, they were creating their perfect little utopia of invention. Or like many inventors, they're reclusive, right? As long as they're in their workshop making, they're happy, right? And then most people, like Steve Jobs, will come in and exploit those people for financial gain. So like legitimately, because like I could
Steve
absolutely
Jobs is
see
autonomy
this.
confirmed. Yeah.
I get it.
Uh-huh.
No. Steve. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're right. Exactly. Autonomy. Sorry for a second. I thought you said invention. Yeah.
Oh,
Exactly.
yeah.
But no, that's what I'm saying. But I think so. Like, what if there is this planet where like invention is just like cranking out like technology, and then autonomy like comes in and just like, hey, bro, and it's just like, as long as I can keep inventing, I don't care. And she's like, all right.
Hey,
and then
you mind if I borrow some robots?
yeah, exactly. I need to send them off to Scadrial because they're getting a little too technological over there.
They're getting a little scary over there. Don't look at my planets too closely, though.
We should do a YouTube show that's just wild ass conspiracy theories of the Cosmere.
I think the Cosmere, and coming from like the deep Song of Ice and Fire fandom, there's some wild theories they come up with. I want to come up with some really, really wild ones that like, just even some of the silly ones. I mentioned at one point, Emily, you thought this was hilarious in the script. I said, like, I was talking about Telsin, Wax's sister. And I was like, wait, Telsin, Trell, zoom in, enhance.
Yes.
And it was like, Telsin, it turns into Trell. And I'm like, oh my God, I found it. And that turned out to be exactly what happened. Telsin was literally turning into Trell.
Mm-hmm.
How just randomly do I get stuff like that?
Cosmere conspiracies from shards to stars.
Yeah. Cosmere conspiracies. Tune in next month and we'll have the first episode.
I want you to invent shards and what effects they would have on the worlds.
Oh, that would be a fun discussion too. Like taking
anxiety.
It's
the
gotta
whole
be around
planet
there
is
somewhere.
crippled. Yeah.
No.
Whole planet is crippled with anxiety. Yes. Yes.
It rocks softly with the movement of the people on it.
Yes. Yes. Oh man. For me, it would be the shard of depression. That would be a fun one.
Always
we
eclipsed
could have
sun. Got it.
the shard of. Oh, sorry. What was that, Emily?
It's always an eclipsed sun. Got it.
Oh, dude, that would actually be a great representation of it. Yeah, it lives. Yeah, now you got me thinking.
See, the problem is we already have this as a character, but like the shard of wit I think would be very fun. But the problem is we literally have that's Hoyd. Like Hoyd
I was gonna say that. I know that one.
Yeah.
I honestly think that like one of the last shards is going to be like wisdom of some sort, something like that. Yeah. Or like prudence, maybe. Wisdom, prudence. What else are we missing from the 16? Like, and I don't think we've even mentioned in this entire discussion once Dawn shards, which are like essential to what's going on.
Oh yeah, you want to go into that?
I guess we can briefly touch on them. I only have we have about 20 more minutes left in the stream. Let's talk about Dawn shards real quick, how they're gonna play into things, and then we'll go into scoring. I don't have a video on Dawn shards actually.
Oh, are you going to have a video on Dawn shards?
I sure will. Now I will.
Yes,
yeah.
Grab now.
The thing is, the problem is we don't know too much about them.
Too much.
Yeah.
Like there's other than we have a novella, Dawn Shards.
Even in that novella though, it's like
we don't learn too much.
It was very frustrating to me that it was named Dawn Shard, and then they're just like it's there at the end of the book, and that's it. And then we barely see her in Rhythm of War. Yeah. What do you think is going to happen with that?
I don't know. Like
that's
I have
definitely something.
No honest idea.
Do you have any theories as to what the Dawn Shards are? Like what they do? Because we know the shards in general are basically this massive amounts of power that are being controlled by a vessel. Okay. So the Dawn Shards are...
There's 4.
There's 4 of them, and they're not raw power, is what it seems like. It's like intent almost. And the Sleepless at some point forbid her from ever getting any sort of investiture or invested in any way, shape, or form, because that'll do weird things to those around her. And that's about all we know about Dawn Shards. Oh, and then also Hoyd was one at one point.
They were used to create like life or the universe or planets.
And they were used in the shattering of Adonalsium somehow. That's about it. Yeah.
But Rissyn is one now.
Rissyn is one now.
So
Hoyd was one at some point. And that's about all we know.
How do you give that up?
That's a great question. How do you give the
power.
question? I think is how do you give that up without dying in the process? Like, how would you choose to give that up? What would the mechanics even be there?
I mean, I guess.
Let me put it this way.
No, Kelsier gave up. He held preservation,
but that was it. It was like basically just dying to get out of him. Like it was like I don't think you're a good vessel. I'm waiting for Vin over there.
Right.
As soon as she takes this stupid earring out, I'm just hopping right over to Vin. And that was like Kelsier was basically charged with that.
Okay, but let's be real. Do you think anything wants to stay contained within Hoyd? Like they probably get me out of here.
I think that's why design works so well with Hoyd in Stormlight Archive is because he just doesn't put up with any of Hoyd's stuff. He's constantly just needling the guy. A guy known for constantly needling other people.
Everybody. Yeah.
And he just can't take it. It's hilarious. Yeah. Yeah. Or he can take it, but he definitely
it's one of the few things that can get under his skin.
Yes. It's amazing. And we've barely even seen Hoyd and Design together yet. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very fun. Okay. Back to Lost Metal, which Design is not in. Okay. We're going to do one more stop.
Oh, goodness. I just checked it.
That's so obnoxious.
It must have just started. Thank you so much, Zeal.
Thank you, Zeal. We're going to stop one last time, and then we're going to come back
last time
with final scores and justifications. We'll be right back. Start recording and virtual camera. We should be back up. We're back up. Okay.
Yeah.
What?
Final scores.
Final scores. You want me to go first? You want to go first?
Yeah, you can go first because I might be a little bit more critical.
Final scores. I'm very critical with Sanderson's books, not because I have a problem with them, but because I love them. Rhythm of War, I think I gave a 6 out of 10.
Hey, that's that is my least favorite Stormlight book.
Yes. And Lost Metal, I think I would ultimately probably rate around the same, if not a little lower. No,
Hard is shorter.
I'd say 6 out of 10. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Simply because I thought it was a decent send-off for Wayne. I think it didn't really work as a send-off for Wax. Bands of Mourning was a much better one, and I think Lost Metal could have done more with Wax than we ultimately got.
Or done less.
Or
and
done
let it be
less, and let him be what he grew into. Him giving up that power and Harmony having to go, I will use Wayne as my sword now.
Right.
Something that has developed organically as opposed to Wax, who we've talked again and again and again about how Harmony has forced him into this position he never wanted and really couldn't handle. Yeah, 6 out of 10. And that's
I will say, I totally agree with you on Rhythm, and that's also because it was so long. Uh,
it was
just
so
to-
long. Some characters were just like not in it. Dalinar was
Dude.
just like in the wind. Yasna was barely in it as well. And then
I know,
he
and then we
shows
just went
back
in
up at the
circles
end.
and some. Yeah.
Kaladin's chapters got very frustrating because
yeah.
we just kept going
We've done
in
this.
circles.
We've done this so many times. But I get it. That is depression. I get it. Like I okay. But yeah. Anyway, that could be a whole nother thing. But I totally agree. But the last the last quarter of that book is great.
Yep.
But so with this one, the thing is that the advantage it has is that it was shorter.
It was a lot
Then-
shorter, and we got a
them.
lot more interesting lore that we didn't have to extract out, because at the Navani chapters as well, it was like at some points it was almost like pulling teeth, because it's like you can see the information right there. It's just getting to that point. And it's the most frustrating times were when it was bouncing back and forth between Kaladin and Navani, and you're just like, hurry it up, bro.
Please. Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
But so with Lost Metal, I said it was the ending was telegraphed. I, called like pretty much all the pivotal moments, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I thought it was like extra campy even for Wax and Wayne, but then I was like, it's just Sanderson having fun and that's fine, but also like, that hurts my suspension of disbelief at times, like especially the jumping to conclusions with the splitting of metals and the sets making a bomb. That still is like the most glaring, I think. Like Sanderson's normally so good at explaining. Like he even gave it he even think of it like, oh, the reason that Marsh can't go do this and Wax has to go do this is because Marsh is dying because he's running out of atium. Because that he gives you those things most of the time, right? It's like, here's at least a justifiable. That was the thinnest, most like, and I just like I can't get over anyway. So but then he gave me all the Cosmere lore. And I was like,
we
bastard.
finally got the
Like,
Ghost Blood stuff that we
we
wanted
got
to
the
get.
Ghost. I know,
a
right?
while.
And it's like, and that stuff is invaluable. And so so that to me like edged it up to like a 7 in my book. Only like without the Cosmere stuff, oh man, it would have been lower. But like I feel like with that and like being able to like fully meet Kelsier again and get a lot of explanations, a new magic system introduced, like hint at another planet, like all like it's just like. It was too much for them maybe to be like, all right, that was so much fan service. Thank you very much. I'll take it.
Yeah.
So 7 for me.
Yep. Okay. I can take 7. Yeah. That works. This is acceptable. And again, don't get me wrong. It's not that I dislike Sanderson books. I have basically a whole channel dedicated to him. It's that these last two have felt very much like almost, I don't want to say stopgaps. It almost like setups almost for bigger stuff that he has planned in the future, as opposed to focusing on like a bigger story from Wax and Wayne. As much as I liked the Ghost Blood stuff, it felt like it didn't necessarily fit into their story in general. I would have rather had Wax and Wayne do frankly, I think Wax and Wayne worked best when it was these very self-contained stories, a very like the world isn't going to blow up if we fail, as much as I liked that.
A novella of just Wax and Wayne out in the roughs before all this stuff. Perfect.
Amazing. Yep.
Let's go, let's see it. Hell yeah.
Yep. Even
and then also
Bands of Mourning was kind of pushing it, but
yeah,
I do think it worked for Bands of Mourning, but giving us more of that world-ending stuff was as much as I liked it, I don't think it was the best send-off for them as characters. These two, wild gentlemen from the roughs that are
well, one's a gentleman.
One's a gentleman from the roughs. One's a little bit less of a gentleman. But he went out with a bang. No.
Fella ain't never regretted it shaking it once too many, but every fella's regretted shaking it once too less. Or once too few.
My.
That's on Wayne's tombstone.
Amen. Yeah.
/statue.
That is lovely.
He's a character.
Yeah.
He's a character.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also like just to echo what you're saying, is like, you know, we both love Sanderson, and like I think it's like on a 0 through 10 is like of Sanderson books, right? Like that's how we're rating these, right? Not like
Yes.
novels in general.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
So
I also
'cause
go
I
with
love-
like 70. I go with as an average, right? Like that's average to me. It's just a little bit below average, but it's not by any means bad. I'd absolutely say this is you want to
it's a
read
must
this
read.
book. Yeah.
If you read the Cosmere, it's a must read. Like that's what you know. It's just like, you know, it's a little campy at times. It felt like he was having a lot of fun, but like it's if you're into the Cosmere, you have to read this book. So
Now that I'm thinking about it, 6 out of 10 might be too harsh. I'll bump it up to 6.5. Yeah.
6.5. You're not
Yeah,
coming. You're not
6.5.
coming with me to 7. You're not-
You know, just since you mentioned it, I'll bump it up to 6.75.
There we
Yeah.
go. Perfect.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Perfect.
This
Okay.
is your own Sanderstorm right here at
This
the
is
end.
my own. Exactly. Great.
It seems very fair too. I like hearing how you guys embraced your rating too. That it's not an outside any kind of game or book perspective, especially since you're giving such great reasoning for why it's such a good book, considering it's somewhere in the middle, right? It's one of those side projects again, although it gives you a lot of lore. It's still really strong considering where it is placed in the whole
The
lineup.
chapters
of
are really
books.
short too. It kind of feels like a novella, to be honest.
It sounded
feels
like it when
two
you were
novellas
describing it.
crammed together into
So,
one
yeah.
book. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
With
makes sense.
one finale. Well,
Yeah.
really, I went back and once I was preparing for this video, I checked it again, and it's almost like I think the last 8 or 9 chapters before the epilogue are just all wax and wane. Like Marcy she gets her part done, and then it's just barely mentioned again until the epilogues.
Until the epilogue. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go back and check for that second fishy reference to the Bands of Mourning.
Oh, I will.
Exchange, by the
I
way.
will. Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna go back and read the epilogues and be like, oh, now we have to have another stream to talk about all this. Oh, we do have another
Good.
book coming out sometime soon.
That's
in
true.
2 days. 2 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. As much as
And I don't know what it is. I'm so excited. I'm
Yeah.
gonna get a box sometime soon too, I guess.
Yeah. I frankly can't wait for you to read this one. That's all I'm saying. That's
I'm
all
excited.
I can say.
I'll DM you as soon as I get it, and then be like, what? Like, you know. So
Yes. You're gonna get through the first chapter and be like, wait, what?
oh man.
It's great. Yeah. Yep. Fantastic. Well, I think that about wraps up all of the material we have today. Any last thoughts, Jen?
Man, thank you so much for having me on. This was a blast. I love getting to talk Cosmere anytime. What I've gotten so many people into the Cosmere, and one of the hardest parts is then it's just like, now I have to wait until you get to this point, and I can talk to you about this. And then you can get to this point, and I can talk to you about this. This was very fun. Even like when I've done streams talking about the Cosmere before, it's always like been avoiding spoilers. So this was super fun to be able to just like no holds barred. We
Just
both
go.
know everything about the Cosmere and like get to talk about it all, not have to worry about it, toss out different theories. And like this was an absolute blast. And
Thank
a
you
fun
for
book
coming
for the
on.
framework. Yeah, of course, dude. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome on whenever. And I think we're gonna end there. Thank you all so much for joining us today. And hopefully we can all do this again sometime soon. If only there were 4 books releasing within the next year, then we could do this on a consistent basis.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Thank you all for joining us. Take care.